At this magic academy, a single dirty look can spark a full-on brawl. The competition here is just that insane. So, when Sunwoo tells his classmate her ice magic has 0 chill, you already know it's leading to a one-on-one showdown. But real talk, Sunwoo was just hyped to see what she was capable of. Hyun attacks. First, firing off a storm of ice shards, but Sunwoo weaves through every single one with ease, even mocking her predictable attack pattern. That's when she absolutely snaps, launching a colossal ice spear right at him. Sunwoo barely leaps aside to save his skin, leaving her stunned by his insane agility. She just can't process how he could have possibly dodged that spell. Still, she busts out this Naruto-style Chidori Senrigan to lock him down, convinced he can't win by just running. And that's when Sunwoo charges straight for her, finally, unleashing an attack of his own. When the two spells collide, the catastrophic surge of mana causes a massive explosion. Sunwoo completely overpowers her spell and stops, just in the nick of time, making sure that pretty face of hers doesn't get permanently rearranged. But Sunwoo wasn't always this OP. Before this whole reincarnation thing, he was dropped into this world as a total background character, hoping to live a quiet life and let the hero handle everything so he could eventually get back to Earth. Unfortunately, that hero failed spectacularly and died fighting the final boss. With the hero gone, this fantasy world literally tore itself apart and crumbled into dust. The system flashed an emergency notification. The main scenario was a complete failure. Because of this epic fail, the world was forced to reset. Before Sunwoo could even process the message, his reality shattered. The next time he wakes up, he's on a bus as an academy student. As he steps off and sees the magical academy looming before him, Sunwoo realizes he's been sent back 7 years into the past. In other words, my guy didn't just get isekai'd into a novel, he just got a full-on respawn. The huge question haunting him is Seojin's death, which never should have happened. Because even in the original story, the hero survived and defeated the final boss after a brutal fight. His death means the plot has drastically changed, and now, no one knows what's coming in this new timeline. Sunwoo wonders if the world is just doomed to be destroyed and reset all over again. But this time, he's determined to make sure the main character survives by taking an active role himself, all for the sake of forging a brand new ending. To pull that off, he first needs to interact with the story's key players. Sunwoo tries to strike up a conversation with some bougie-looking girl, but gets hit with an immediate death glare. She's instantly disgusted that he's acting all familiar like they know each other, even though it's their first time meeting. Our boy's confidence just gets absolutely shattered. She's annoyed he even tried talking to her, and when Sunwoo denies it, she demands that he stop staring at her. At this point, her words hit harder than any spell, and Sunwoo learns that getting close to the main characters is going to be a serious grind. The first day of class kicks off with the class representatives being called to the stage. 3 people walk up. The first is Lee Sojin, a brilliant second-year student and the personal disciple of the great mage, Kim Jin-chun. Sojin's presence was already legendary even before the main story, making Sunwoo realize this guy is the textbook definition of a broken main character protagonist. The second rep is a stunning redhead who looks like she descended from the heavens, but don't get it twisted, this girl is no sweet little angel. Sunwoo can tell that even her smile is perfectly calculated. Finally, the third representative is the top-ranked senior who hasn't lost his number, 1 spot in 3 years. He's the classic, nerdy but cool type you see in every anime. This is the only one Sunwoo has little data on, as he remembers this guy didn't feature much in the original story. While the 3 reps are taking their oath, Sunwoo notices the girl next to him is just seething with rage, and she's hot. Not in a weird way, though. Seizing the moment, Sunwoo pokes the bear with a pretty savage comment. She takes the bait immediately, her pride on the line, and demands he explain himself. After a moment's thought, our boy unleashes his ultimate Rizjutsu 9000 and openly declares she's way better than the 2 representatives on stage. She thinks this dude is a total creep, especially since he has no idea how skilled they are with magic. Sunwoo obviously has to play dumb, but he adds that his intuition is crazy sharp, and he can just tell by looking at people. It looks like his gambit paid off. His game plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of being charmed, the girl absolutely blew a fuse over his cringy comments. Our boy realized he needed to switch up his strategy, like yesterday, because this whole approach was a massive failure. Pivoting hard, he just straight up asks if she's been stressing about her career path lately. Now that's information this guy definitely shouldn't have. Her memories come flooding back the second she finally recognizes him. With a glare that could kill, she threatens him to never speak to her again. And with that, she stands up and storms off. As for our protagonist, he gets a harsh reality check. He's no Prince Charming. In fact, he completely fumbled everything from the get-go. A new semester at the Magic Academy kicks off with a placement test on the very first day. This one exam will decide everyone's rank. The pressure is on, forcing students to prove their worth in front of the entire school. Some of them are already freaking out. Meanwhile, our boy is looking unbelievably confident. Sun Woo is aiming to break into the top 10 rankings for the sophomore class. In his past life alone, he was bombarded with offers to jump to B rank, so there's zero chance he's going to look average in front of these newbies. My man is about to put the entire academy on notice. Anyway, the test begins with a mage firing off a barrage of ice projectiles, obliterating multiple training dummies in the assessment. Watching her tear through the test leaves the audience genuinely impressed. It's no surprise, really. She's the top-ranked sophomore. The rest of the second years are called up one by one. The first one we see is the Korean equivalent of the campus queen, and it's the very same VIP who shut our boy down earlier. She unleashes fire magic that leaves the other students stunned. It's far beyond their expectations. Even at her current level, she's already considered a professional, all thanks to that insane amount of mana she possesses. In fact, if Seojin, the true main character, wasn't around, Ayuara would have already secured legendary status. Speaking of the protagonist, the swordsman steps onto the field before erupting in a blur of motion, a lightning-fast charge. 3 moving dummies are utterly annihilated, with each swing of his blade shredded into nothing but shrapnel. He ends the fight so quickly that even Ayuara is left speechless. The thing is, she's incredibly skilled for her level. But this Sojin guy is already a full-fledged professional mage by comparison. She's always been living in his shadow, so it's no wonder she feels this way. Next, our boy's name is announced. Hyped up, Sun Woo is ready to go off and show everyone what he's made of. A few of the watching teachers and judges remember him as some forgettable kid, with little to no promise. According to their records, he specializes in reinforcement magic. That's pretty weird, considering he walks up completely empty-handed. The dummies materialize right in front of Sun Woo. His first move is to manifest raw magic in the palm of his hand. While the teachers dismiss him as mediocre for changing his primary style, their jaws are about to hit the floor, because they witnessed this dude invent the Rasengan, long before Minato Namikaze ever did. He is compressing materialized magic in his hand. The first stage of materialization magic is, you guessed it, materializing it. It involves condensing mana for precise control. The next stage, emission, is an advanced materialization technique. It's something only veteran mages can typically use in battle. Witnessing him pull off such a high-level skill leaves even Ayuara stunned, and Sojin is frozen in his tracks. They can't comprehend how a second-year student knows such a ridiculously advanced technique. As Sun Woo unleashes the blast, planning to vaporize the dummies in one shot, a twist of fate, or more likely, the plot intervenes. His attack dissipates into thin air before it even touches a dummy. The audience loses it, erupting into a roar of laughter, mocking him. He tried to flex like a big shot with no mana to back it up. Our guy had one chance to look cool in front of the underclassmen, and he ended up humiliating himself. Suddenly, a series of blue screens materialize before Sun Woo, who's wondering why this stupid system didn't pop up sooner, to save his skin. In the next scene, our guy is back in his dorm room, questioning why the system chose to activate at that exact moment. He can't figure out why there's a deviation from the original story. By the way, that notification that appeared earlier, it was about unlocking the outsider's privilege. It also triggered the main scenario chain and dropped 3,000 points into his lap. Thanks to his regression of 7 years, the system also gifted him the title, Gifted Clown. Pretty ironic, since it's basically telling him to live his life as a joke. After getting a fat stack of points, Sun Woo is haunted by the blue screens, and even more so by the memory of the crowd laughing in his face. His name and face are known to everyone now, so this dude can't just fly under the radar anymore. The person paying the most attention to him now is Sojin, the main character. 4 characters. All eyes, including those of the key players, were glued to him, racking up his score by another few thousand points. In the blink of an eye, Sun Woo had basically farmed 10,000 points. Now, to even touch that currency, he needed to unlock something called the Outsider's Prerogative. It's a skill exclusively for someone who got yeeted into this world, and Sun Woo was the only candidate who fit that exact description. These points were being stacked up through the system's achievements, just by hitting certain milestones. To put it simply, the more clout he gained, the higher his reputation soared, and the more points he could farm. Another game-changing aspect of the Outsider's Prerogative was gaining access to the point shop. This absolutely cracked system allowed him to purchase skills and items with a single universal currency. Sun Woo was hyped about the points, but he wasn't feeling the win. The entire crowd, the whole world, was laughing in his face as if he were a total clown. As a regressor, Sun Woo completely forgot that his mana reserves at this point in time were pathetically low. He'd never received this much attention before, not even in any of his previous lives. It wasn't a total loss though, since he managed to score a fat stack of points from the whole ordeal. To gauge his own abilities, he pulled up his status window, where the system displayed his current profile. Unfortunately for him, his stats had been completely wiped, a hard reset from his past life. He was absolutely tilted about having to grind from square one. But then Sunwoo refocused and realized this was a golden opportunity to invest his stats wisely. Thanks to the knowledge from his past life, he knew that 4 distinct mage systems existed in this novel's world. Enhancement, which amps up weapons or physical stats, is best suited for frontline brawlers. Manifestation is about materializing magic and blasting it outwards, a more classic and conventional style. Summoning and support were mainly for flexing with special creatures and other bizarre abilities. Overall, Sunwoo was really vibing with manifestation because he wanted to look absolutely epic while casting spells. Since he was committing to a manifestation build, he had to prioritize pumping up his mana stat. Suddenly, a system notification flashed. It was a reminder that over 300 people had been affected by his ridiculous stunt on stage. The more people he impressed, the more points he farmed, which meant that acting like a total clown on stage wasn't such a bad move after all. Our boy thought he'd hit the jackpot from his crazy antics, seeing the vote count soar to 400, which was far beyond the number of students at the academy. Fearing the absolute worst, Sunwoo checked the broadcast on YouTube and had his fears confirmed. The entire thing had been live-streamed. My man was suffering from success. He had gone viral, but he'd also become a global laughingstock. Still, that point total was nothing to sneeze at, which got him wondering if he could somehow farm even more. Channeling his inner keyboard warrior, Sunwoo started smashing buttons, thinking he could cook up another massive performance. By purchasing a certain something, he ensured that the very next day, everyone in the academy was giving him the side-eye. They were all whispering, wondering if he was that guy from yesterday. The night before, Sunwoo had gone on an absolute trolling spree everywhere he could. For all that newfound attention, he raked in another 5,000 points. Walking into class, he saw that everyone was already in their seats except for him. Sunwoo immediately became the center of attention. A cocky, blonde-haired dude called him a freak. But instead of bullying him, the guy actually praised him for being hilarious, saying he livened up the whole class and broke the tension. They were genuinely baffled as to how Sunwoo had completely depleted his mana, with some even accusing him of being a talentless, silver spoon noble. This guy was Park In-hwan, a total moron who later evolves into a full-blown psycho in the early stages of the novel. Sunwoo knew that arguing would be pointless, so he stayed silent. But this potato-headed punk was about to show his true colors. He officially labeled Sunwoo as the class idiot. He wanted Sunwoo to be his personal pet, to come running whenever In-hwan called his name. The one who stepped in to save him was the charismatic Seojin. He was clearly annoyed that In-hwan refused to stop harassing people, even after being told to knock it off. That scumbag just mocked Seojin for trying to play the role of the hero prodigy. He argued that a commoner like In-hwan should just bow down to his superior status. Before Seojin could even clap back, Potato Head and his goons dipped, leaving Sunwoo alone with the main protagonist. Seojin checked to see if he was okay. He remembered Sunwoo from the placement exam the other day, and he also remembered the live-streamed video. It was not a good look for our boy, who was currently dying of cringe. It felt as humiliating as having your private DMs leaked to the entire school. Seojin, playing the hero, assured him that whoever posted the video was a total loser. The conversation should have ended right there, but Sunwoo suddenly grabbed his hand. And you won't believe this, our boy boldly asked Seojin to do it with him. This story is literally one line away from becoming a full-blown BL series. Sunwoo was playing the damsel in distress card hard. He pleaded with the protagonist to join his party for the upcoming dungeon class. The prodigy was completely stunned. He questioned Sunwoo's intentions, right before our boy confidently shared that this would be a win-win for both of them. After thinking for a second, the hero rejected him. He basically called Sunwoo too unreliable to be a teammate. But he persisted, emphasizing that there were 2 solid reasons for them to team up. Alright, you have my attention. Seojin actually listens to both pitches, half expecting some galaxy brain manipulation tactic. But nope, this dude's first point is devastatingly simple. He's ranked dead last among all the sophomores. Seojin finds that a pretty pathetic reason to team up, but then Sunwoo confidently drops a bomb about the point modifiers for the joint exams. If the number 1 student pairs with the absolute bottom-ranked student, they both get a massive point buff. This throws Seojin for a loop. Still, he believes the risk of teaming up with this total nobody is way too high. Bringing up his second point, Sunwoo reveals that Ara has personally scouted 2 low-ranked students. This means she's playing the system, leveraging her specialty in wide area of effect magic. Anyone could figure out how much of a cakewalk that would make things for her. Then, he throws out a third reason, even though he clearly said he only had 2. Sunwoo points right at himself. telling our main character with unshakable confidence that his skills are seriously impressive for a bottom feeder. You gotta remember, Sojin isn't some Deku or a shonen protagonist powered by friendship. The guy literally laughs in Sunu's face for that line of reasoning, and yet, he agrees to form a team under one simple condition. Sojin will be in charge of choosing the remaining members. A sweet deal for our boy. He shakes on it, while the system dings with a notification that Seojin's interest in him is skyrocketing. Cut to the next scene, and class is now in session. The professor is lecturing about how, in the past, there were only 2 major magic systems, instead of 4. This old classification ultimately crumbled for one specific reason, and she quizzes the class on it. Since our boy is basically a pro smurfing in a beginner lobby, Sunu's hand shoots up to answer. He explains how Hun Kalm, the very first magician from the 18th century, completely revolutionized the entire magic landscape. The teacher continues to drone on, while Sunu internally reflects on how these classes and formulas would be a brutal grind, even for a genius like Sojin. He, however, has a built-in advantage, an outsider perk that allows him to translate and convert formulas on the fly. My guy is basically a walking cheat code, and his classmates start comparing him to Hermione from Harry Potter. A few haters still clown on him for being ranked last, which ticks Sunu off. The bell rings, ending class and signaling the start of lunch. Students are flooding out of the hall when Sojin suddenly grabs him for a celebratory lunch. The next shot shows the two of them heading for a table. A guy waves them over, motioning for them to come closer. This is Shin Young-jin, another pivotal character in the plot, who also happens to be Sojin's best friend. It's a shame they had to split up for this exam, because 2 high rankers wouldn't rake in many points by being on the same team. Sitting with them at the table, directly facing him, is Sunu, who has been getting this guy's undivided attention ever since that viral video. Youngjin just can't wrap his head around how these two suddenly became so tight. And the moment he finds out that Sunu actually teamed up with Sojin, his entire reality implodes. Youngjin finds it hilarious that his best friend has to go to these lengths just to secure the #1 spot, when he could easily dominate without the point buffing system. However, our main character admits he's feeling the pressure. Ara's relentless grind to beat him for first place has him on edge. He even tells him how she's using 2 low rankers to max out her score, which leaves Youngjin pretty stunned. While they're eating together, a girl watches them and recognizes one of the boys. He's the one who posted on the Great Sage's Forest. Sone's friend asks what she's staring at, and she just plays it cool, like it's nothing. But the question that's really eating at her is how Sunu managed to get so close to a certified genius like Sojin. In the next scene, we're dropped into the training room. Here, our boy is testing out his similar manifestation ability, only this time, he's being way more efficient with his mana. He generates a Rasengan, and then just launches it, Boruto style. This move is called manipulation, designed to alter its flight path. The attack slams right into the training dummy, and, not surprisingly, the other students are completely blown away by his progress. Sunu is genuinely stoked to see their attitudes toward him finally changing. Before he got launched 7 years back in time, he had stockpiled and dumped all his points into his stats. Unfortunately, the more you pump into stats, the more astronomically expensive the upgrades become. That's precisely why he got hard stuck at a specific rank, exactly like in a video game. This time around, however, Sunu's switching up his strategy. He isn't going to pour all his points directly into stats anymore. Instead, he's aiming to enhance them through special traits and items. Essentially, he wants to build a rock-solid foundation, rather than blindly leveling up. But out of nowhere, he discovers a new passive effect that comes with it. It boosts his magic power by up to 15%, depending on the environment. After that, he snags a special item, called the Regressor's wristwatch, which juices up his health and mana recovery speed by a massive 200%. The only problem is, our boy could only snag it by selling off an A-tier trait called Master Chef, so Gordon Ramsay won't be hiring him anytime soon. But hey, traits can be cashed in for points, and thanks to that investment, his base level is already way better than in his last timeline. Sunwoo's phone buzzes, and he finds it hilarious to think that anyone would actually be hitting him up. His eyes widen in shock as he reads the screen. Sunwoo was just added to a group chat with Heesung, Jihyuk, and Jinte. He knows absolutely nothing about them, except for Ian. They're all low rankers, but Ian is one of those characters who becomes a huge deal later on. Right now, she's just a nobody with no skills, so her role isn't that big. Seojin wants everyone to share their special skills, so they can get a feel for the team's synergy. Jihyuk's abilities are support and manifestation. He specializes in manifesting ice and also plays a support role. Jinte is an enhancement type but lacks a strong foundation in manifestation. Our guy types his information in, while Jihyuk jokingly roasts him, acting as if the whole school doesn't already know about his manifestation skills. Successfully triggered, Sunwoo decides it's best to let Sojin be the main DPS while the others support him. To clinch first place, they have to perform much better than Ara's team, which makes him curious about her team members. We cut back to the training grounds, where various students are grinding out their skills. An instructor chews out a student for focusing too much on manipulation, which is slowing down his casting. As for Ara, she's putting on a clinic, showing off an explosive display of blast magic. Everyone thinks she's incredible, a top-tier, all-around talent. Despite her youth, she still needs a certain degree of refinement. For example, her raw magic output is lacking. Coincidentally, our boy fires off a shot from behind, stunning everyone. He just nailed the target with a high-level manifestation. Sunwoo's progress is on full display. The instructor has witnessed his glow-up, up close, from how he fumbled his power release at the ceremony, to now, where he can spam as many Rasengens as he wants with minimal mana cost. The fact he could identify his own weaknesses and engineer a solution to his own problems seriously impresses the teacher. By evening, the special class wraps up, with the teacher thanking everyone. The students quickly scatter after the intense session. They clearly had a blast, even though they were worked to the bone. Sunwoo gets held back by the teacher as she approaches for a chat. She praises his incredible work ethic, knowing that our guy has been training relentlessly. She's also curious about his investment in mana cultivation, as she can see he's been focusing on that as well. Sunwoo realizes his teacher is incredibly sharp. She already clocked his mana deficiency. In his past life, he confirmed this. But even after training, the teacher acknowledges that his mana pool is pretty shallow for his skill set. The issue is, there's no cheat code for amassing a huge mana reserve, so he just has to grind. No worries there, because our guy is more than happy to put in that extra effort. The teacher hands him a friendship bracelet, but it's actually an item that supports mana breathing and maintains form. A baffled Sunwoo asks if it's really okay to just accept a gift like this out of the blue. She reassures him not to feel burdened by it. After all, it's just a cheap F-rank item for training purposes. Sunwoo takes it and thanks her for her generosity, while the teacher waves goodbye, ending the session. Our boy is feeling good about his unexpected loot when he suddenly notices a girl waiting for him. Ara, the same annoying girl who wouldn't give him the time of day before, is now trying to strike up a conversation. All casually, our guy trolls her by bringing up how she didn't want to be anywhere near him. Ara ignores the jab and mentions that she knows he's joining Sojin's team. This completely catches Sunwoo off guard. She flat out accuses him of being a cheap freeloader trying to ride the coattails of the #1 ranker. However, Ara also declares that she's taking the top spot this time and tells him to get his head out of the clouds. Now, this dude is just as bewildered as we are, realizing just how fragile this girl's ego is. On Thursday morning, the whole squad assembles at a location for the event. Seojin is pumped that they're all meeting in one place for the first time, as they all hope for the best in the upcoming semester. Jihyuk sarcastically dubs their team. Their team is a wild mix, featuring both the top-ranked student and the absolute bottom of the barrel all at once. He also starts trash-talking Sunu, roasting him by reminding everyone that he couldn't even cast a single spell during the exam. Yeah, at this point, Sunu can tell this dude seriously despises him. Jinte then swoops in to rescue our boy. He says that Sojin will probably end up carrying the whole team anyway. Not exactly a vote of confidence, because that just paints him as a total freeloader. The only one left is Heejung, who's still basically a background character at this point in the novel. What's really bothering Sunu, though, is how different the team composition feels, at least in this part of the story. Heejung's involvement is fine, but he's feeling seriously uncertain about the rest of the members. Suddenly, an examiner commands everyone's attention as he begins to break down the details of the expedition event. The class will run twice a day with the goal of clearing only the first basement level on day 1. Next, he dives into the scoring criteria. Factors like the speed of clearing the dungeon will rack up more bonus points. Then come the rank-adjusted points. This means that having lower-ranked teammates will actually earn you more points overall. Finally, there's contribution. Since the artificial dungeon has a built-in contribution system, points will be awarded to those who pull the most weight during the event. Safety is also a top priority. With the boring lecture finally over, we're finally heading into the dungeon. Meanwhile, a monitoring team is keeping a very close watch on every squad. Instructor Ian has just arrived after sending the kids inside. It turns out these teachers have their own brand of entertainment, placing bets on which team will come out on top. Most of them immediately lock in their bets on Ara's team, believing she's going to completely dominate. With the majority of teachers picking Group 7, the betting seems pointless until the special class instructor chimes in. She announces that she's choosing Sojin's group. Even Mr. Kang thinks Miss Lee's choice is completely irrational, because Ara's low-ranked support is vastly superior to Sojin's. The problem with Group 3 is that the members have zero synergy, and there's only so much Sojin can do as a solo-oriented enhancer. Miss Lee understands that these types of mages are better suited for fighting without a support team, and they can easily be overwhelmed when outnumbered. As for Ara, she specializes in wide area of effect magic. This allows her to climb through the first floor at a record-shattering pace. Miss Lee agrees that she's going all in on this one. It's an underdog bet for the top spot, but she's intensely curious about the final outcome. And now, let's zoom in on the mages themselves. Our protagonist has already shredded several monsters without breaking a sweat. His party members are pretty much just leeching off him so far. Jinte and Ji-hyuk are just enjoying the free ride. As they reach the halfway point of the first floor, both of them are getting curious about the floor boss. It's almost guaranteed that it won't be some overpowered monster, at least not for rookie-level mages. While they're laughing it off, Ian adds that it is still a boss, so a powerful monster is definitely going to appear. She actually asks for Sunu's opinion, and he predicts a dire wolf will show up. Ji-hyuk immediately scoffs at the suggestion, but our boy doesn't even bother explaining how he knows all this. Ji-hyuk is starting to think Sunu is just some kind of calculated liar. His successful trolling manages to get under our boy's skin again. Sojin stops them before a fight breaks out and tells the group to keep moving. As they're walking, our hero suddenly signals for the entire group to come to an immediate halt. Ji-hyuk mocks the top ranker for being a coward. Meanwhile, Sojin is convinced something is wrong with the floor. Hye-jung wonders what it could be, and a close-up shot reveals it's a magic circle. Jinte groans in frustration, wondering why it's even here. Even Ji-hyuk is scared that they're about to face something seriously dangerous. The bravest one of the bunch is our boy Sunu, who inspects the circle up close despite Sojin's advice to be careful. From the pattern, Sunu deduces that this magic circle isn't dangerous. In fact, it's just a simple barrier. Ji-hyuk, obviously, doesn't believe him, but our boy has seen this exact barrier deployed in his previous life. To prove his point, he reaches out and touches the invisible wall. Sunu validates his theory, which makes the jerk incredibly irritated. Jinte asks what they're supposed to do now that their path is trapped. Radiating pure main character energy, Sojin decides to just shatter the barrier with his sword. Glowing with a golden aura, he lunges forward and delivers a clean slice right through the barrier. The party members are stunned, but not for long, because the barrier instantly reforms right after. But the stubborn protagonist isn't ready to give up. He wants to try again with a different style, but Ji-hyuk steps forward to handle the task. He's supposed to be the support, but my guy is out here trying to have his main character moment. But the second he channels his energy into the magic circle, absolutely nothing happens. The dude is just flexing for nothing until it dawns on him that his method will take a solid 40 minutes. Bruh. Sunwoo shoves him aside, declaring he's got this, then places both hands on the array to interface with it directly. That is, until one of his totally busted perks kicks in. Thanks to an auto-translate feature, it converts the complex formula of the magic circle into plain Korean. It basically morphs into a word puzzle in his native language, and after rearranging the characters, Sunwoo finally cracks the code. And just like that, the barrier shatters. All because our boy stepped up. Both Seojin and Jinny are completely blown away, and to Sunwoo's own surprise, the system drops a fat 5,000 points on him as a reward. And what's wild is that it also generates an affinity level with the main character, which is a brand new feature he's never seen before. With the barrier down, they charge straight into the boss's lair. And big surprise, it's the exact same colossal wolf that Sunwoo called out earlier. This ferocious beast is an absolute unit, menacing the rest of the party. The monster lunges, and Sojin squares up, ready to slice it down. He unleashes a relentless storm of golden slashes on the wolf, carving through the creature's hide with ease. My guy even strikes a badass pose after taking down the boss like it was nothing. With the main threat eliminated, they bounce from the dungeon, wrapping up the event. At the exit, the proctor congratulates them on snagging second place for the first week. Sojin is totally floored when he hears it. They still only got second, finding out that Ara's team had cleared the whole thing a full 30 minutes faster. He's cool with her insane clear speed, while his teammates just call Ara's talent what it is. Monstrous. She's literally speedrunning the floor like it's Minecraft. But no matter the results, Sojin is genuinely hyped about Sunwoo's contribution. He's convinced Sunwoo is the sole reason they even broke into the top 2. If he hadn't shattered that barrier, they would have been left in the dust. In fact, Sojin feels like he's the one who dropped the ball by not being strong enough. But Hee-jung jumps in, assuring him that he practically carried the entire team on his back. Sunwoo backs her up, reminding everyone that, hey, it's only week 1. They've got plenty of time to close the gap with Ara's crew. As they're heading out, a woman approaches them, her eyes locked on Sunwoo. Turns out, this lady is an instructor for the support department, and she's come with a very juicy offer just for him. The offer? She wants him to switch majors and transfer straight into the support department, effective immediately. He's a little confused at first, but he wastes zero time shutting her down right to her face. The instructor is stunned, he'd refuse without even hearing the terms. She practically shouts that with her authority, she can hook him up with a massive scholarship, a special talent scholarship, to be exact, worth 50 million won. She thinks that's the clincher, but he still turns her down flat. Even the other students watching think Sunwoo is a complete moron for passing up a golden ticket like that. They're all whispering that his materialization skill is half-baked anyway, so he should just take the deal. While these haters are running their mouths, Ara herself steps into the conversation. She flat out tells him he's an idiot for not making the switch. Special talents get way more perks than just a scholarship, she says. But with pure, unadulterated confidence, Sunwoo just declares he's good. He's perfectly fine just messing around with his materialization magic. His zero hesitation response completely throws her for a loop. In the next scene, we catch up with Seong, who bumps into Sunwoo and actually greets him pretty nicely. Kinda funny. She totally butchers his name, so he has to correct her. But what really catches Song off guard is that he's in the middle of cleaning the area, and not for any particular reason, either. Sunwoo is just tidying up because the place was a mess. His simple act of kindness seems to really impress her, and she says her goodbyes. And now, for the plot twist. This girl is a total two-face. She was actually looking down on him for cleaning the whole time. The system registers her true impression of him, and it nets him 1,000 points. In reality, triggering the fairy snail achievement was Sunwoo's master plan for cleaning from the very beginning. He grabs his bucket and hums a little tune as he walks off, completely unaware that some other dude is secretly admiring him from afar. Back in the classroom, the instructor is lecturing about different monster classifications, starting with humanoids, beasts, flying types, and so on. The most dangerous of them all, she explains, are the so-called demonic humans. The instructor then asks the class if anyone knows why they're considered so threatening. Sunwoo pipes up, answering that it's because of their ability to drop their disguises and enter a terrifying berserk state. They are almost identical to humans, and that's what makes them a massive problem. These monsters are the root of all evil. They devour people and can even command weaker monsters. They blend seamlessly into society, and with their flawless disguises, it's virtually impossible to tell a demonic human from a real one. Demonic fiends only drop their disguises in the most dire situations, their eyes consumed by an inky blackness. Hearing this sends a jolt through Sunwoo's memory. He recalls a specific arc from the story, one that's supposed to kick off this very weekend. In that arc, the squad has their first throwdown with a fiend, a battle that skyrockets Seojin's reputation as a prodigy mage who slayed a fiend while still just a student. Sunwoo knows the main character can absolutely smoke this threat solo, but he's bugging out, worried the original storyline might get derailed. So, his new mission is to check on the other variables. But his biggest hurdle right now? Getting that bread. We're talking cold, hard cash. He needs a serious bankroll to set the stage for Seojin's big entrance in the upcoming scene. We cut to Sunwoo, deep in meditation, grinding out his mana cultivation. As he's in the zone, the system pings him with a notification, a boost in latent power and bonus points, all thanks to his unique trait. Sunwoo wraps up his training session, a smirk on his face. The grind is finally paying off. But with his mana pool looking pretty stacked, another system alert really catches his eye. It announces that his trait has just hit level 2. This level up unlocks a sick new effect, Heart of Great Nature. Sunwoo is absolutely stoked as he pulls up the details, feeling like a genius for picking this trait from the get-go. The new effect is on a 24-hour cooldown, but it grants him an insane 1000% recovery speed for a full minute. This thing is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card, a clutch playability for those do-or-die moments. Sunwoo feels a surge of pride for sticking to his guns with his materialization magic, even as he recalls the tempting offer from the support department's instructor. But let's be real, the only reason he could shatter those barriers in the first place was because of his unique system-granted skills. Without them, the support department would have been completely out of reach, since he can't actually create barriers on his own. Which, unfortunately, means that scholarship money is off the table. Our boy's bank account is looking painfully thin, with a measly 30,000 won to his name. He's officially broke, desperately racking his brain for some way to make cash, and fast. Sunwoo's mind races through the options: dungeon diving, hunting monsters, farming for items, but they're all incredibly risky gambles. The only truly viable option left is climbing the tower. Sure, he's just a student, but he's confident he can handle the tower's lower levels. No sweat. Too bad our guy is still a minor, which means getting a license is a total no-go. Backed into a corner, Sunwoo has a sudden flash of genius, an idea that could solve everything. In the next scene, we find a group of teachers buzzing, absolutely captivated by one particular student. Our boy has officially become the talk of the entire school. It seems like everyone is keeping tabs on his every move. They even spotted him cleaning up bright and early that morning. They're also blown away by his incredible work ethic and how engaged he is in his studies. Miss Lai is practically glowing with pride and can't resist throwing a little playful shade at the support department instructor for their failed attempt to poach him. Ultimately, they're all just thrilled to see a student who's genuinely serious about their craft. It's a total breath of fresh air. As for Sunwoo, all this praise is starting to go to his head. He's low-key thinking he's a certified genius, especially after getting all this new recognition from the faculty. Firing up the search function, he dives into the point shop, ready to spend. For a staggering 10,000 points, Sunwoo dumps his currency into a single gacha roll, praying for a legendary drop. Mumbling to himself in the hallway, he doesn't realize Saturday morning has rolled around. We see a tall dude confidently striding up to challenge the tower, only to be stopped dead in his tracks by security. The guard demands to see a license. Sunwoo whips one out, revealing his new identity, Jinu, a C-rank mage. All the solo leveling fans just shot up in their seats watching this. The inspector gives the license card a hard look before sliding it into the database scanner. And in this moment, Sunwoo is sweating bullets, knowing his entire plan could detonate at any second. But then, a miracle. The system flashes green, confirming his identity as legit and granting him access. Our boy was internally freaking out, even though he knew his plan was flawless. And hey, remember all those points he spent earlier? Well, plot twist. He cashed them in for a brand new identity from the point shop. He got to customize every single detail to his liking, and it even came with a certified mage license. The thing about mage licenses in this world is that they're a huge deal. Each one is encoded with a unique magical signature, making them virtually impossible to fake. Oh, and by the way, he's also rocking a pair of glasses with a hypnotic effect that alters his hair color, so no, he didn't actually hit up a salon. Anyway, Sunwoo is inside the tower. Now he just has to conquer it before heading over to the Han River. The main character is scheduled to throw down with the Fiend around 9:30. The tower accepts Sunwoo's new persona, granting him access all the way up to the 27th floor. Stepping onto the glowing magic circle, Sunwoo commands the tower to teleport him straight to the 10th floor. There's just one catch. This floor has already been cleared, which means re-clearing it will slash the rewards. But Sunwoo couldn't care less. He's not here for the loot. He has a much bigger goal in mind as he steps through the gate. Model. So, Sunwoo's real objective has nothing to do with the stage clear reward. See, the teleportation gates in this world are baked into every single tower. To make getting around easier, there are a ton of different tower types, each with its own variation of power, monsters, and trap difficulty on every floor. According to the original novel, the Tower of Trials was supposed to be a place most guilds were terrified to even approach because of its insane difficulty. But, with his insider knowledge, Sun Woo knows exactly who to target first. His opponent is a three-eyed dire wolf, a beast radiating some seriously hostile energy. The wolf lunges in, ready to rip him to shreds, but our sorcerer casually blasts it with his materialization magic and one-shots it. Easy clap. The good news is that monsters inside the tower tend to be weaker than their outside counterparts, so hunting them isn't an issue. The real challenge is the traps and high-level magic formulas embedded in every floor. It's a nightmare for most, but, for Sun Woo, it's the easiest thing on the planet. Thanks to his auto-translation skill, my guy is basically running a magical version of ChatGPT and Google Translate. With plenty of time still on the clock, Sun Woo heads to his next destination. The scene flashes over to the Han River, from Sojin's perspective. Yang Jin is here too, both friends just chilling and catching a breeze. Sojin was put on photo duty to capture the memories they're making today. He snaps a few pictures, enjoying the laid-back life. Meanwhile, our boy is back to farming mobs in the tower. Sun Woo's luck stat is popping off when a magic crystal fragment drops from a monster. With this, he can cover his travel expenses. He then feels around a nearby wall for a trap, interacting with it. Sun Woo finds and cracks it open, unlocking the barrier-dispelling expert title as a fresh achievement. Exiting the hall, he steps into the hidden floor of the Tower of Trials. This place is known as the Inner World, and it's special because the environment is saturated with a mysterious elemental mana. Sun Woo is stoked with this result. This hidden floor was the entire reason he came here in the first place. The spirit of the floor addresses him as the Tower Challenger, before demanding he prove his worth. A statue of an angel radiates an aura so powerful that it even gives Sun Woo pause. A rose garden erupts into full bloom as fairies emerge from the flowers. They're called flower fairies, and while these Tinkerbell knockoffs are C rank at best, they get incredibly aggressive when they swarm. These monsters are notorious for going feral the instant they see a human. But no worries, Sun Woo blasts one with magic and immediately realizes that speed is going to decide this battle. He's just spamming Rasengans all over the place, knowing at least one of them is bound to connect with a fairy. While they're scattered, our sorcerer summons and sets up a magic circle. The catch is, even if he wiped out every single fairy on this floor, he still wouldn't clear the stage. The statue's spirit demanded he prove his worth. But that doesn't just mean slaughtering monsters. Tapping into the special effect of being an outsider, he deciphers the magic formula in record time. He starts tinkering with the barrier, promising the spirit he's about to prove himself. Sun Wu barely even breaks a sweat, since he got this OP power-up as a direct result of being yeeted into the next life. The tower has been conquered. The system rewards him with official recognition from the tower, along with 10,000 tower points. The certification even grants Sun Wu a new adaptive trait, the proof of the tower. A whole slew of different items were also scooped up while clearing the floors. Things like boosts for mana, recovery speed, magic power, and output efficiency. Sun Wu is hyped as the tower spirit, congratulates him on his achievement. Now, let's cut back to Sojin's side. Fireworks are lighting up the sky, but he's too busy reviewing the photos they took. That's when he spots a shadowy figure lurking in the background of a picture. Yang Jin's eyes go wide, with sheer terror as they zoom in, because this random dude in a fedora is actually a demon man with pitch black eyes. That same man is also spotted by Sun Wu, who is shook to see him, even though Sojin is nowhere in sight. The demon man is on the verge of going berserk, just shambling around like a zombie. Time is running out. It's almost 9:30, but with no sign of Sojin, our boy starts to wonder if he should be the one to jump in first. But that's the real problem, because this whole encounter is supposed to be a major plot point. Interfering could seriously mess up the story's progression. The demon man is acting so weird that another, well-meaning stranger walks up to check on him. And is it just me, or is that demon man totally mocking everyone with that chiseled jawline? Sun Wu watches in absolute horror as blood drips from the young man's body. He coughs up blood. His kindness has become his downfall, as the demon man brutally stabs him. This creature flings him around like a rag doll, leaving him broken in a growing pool of blood. Next, the guy goes completely feral and rips his shirt wide open. My dude is absolutely shredded, sporting a billion pack. I'm talking his abs have their own abs. Right behind this rampaging monster stands another helpless girl. The demonic creature pivots, locking its eyes on its next victim. As the crowd finally grasps the horror unfolding, our boy decides he can't just stand by and snatches up a spear. Knowing he has to intervene, Sun Wu basically says to hell with the script and bolts towards the girl. Elsewhere, Ian Jin and Seo Jin are reporting the sighting to an official agent from the Mage Association's anti-terrorist task force. Hyun-soo is absolutely certain they're dealing with a demonic human. The only problem now is trying to locate it, and to make matters worse, they're in the middle of a packed festival, and the demonic human will only get stronger as it feeds. Suddenly, Seo Jin's senses go into overdrive, as he feels a colossal surge of dark energy. Hyun-soo feels it too and starts tracking the mana signature. The crowd has no clue who our guy is, but the demonic beast is just inches away from the woman, ready to tear her apart. It lunges to strike her, but just then, Sun Wu yeets a table at it, creating a split-second distraction that allows the woman to escape. But the demon isn't letting go, and gives chase. Sun Wu focuses, activating his materialization technique, knowing full well this B-rank demon will be a tough opponent. He channels all his power into a single strike, aiming for the creature's blind spot, its primary weakness. The chakra Senrigan erupts, slamming straight into the demon's head, and dealing enough damage to get its full attention. Sun Wu waits patiently as the monster turns menacingly, half of its face completely scorched away. Having survived the blast, its rapid regeneration already mends the burnt flesh, and now Sun Wu is in some serious trouble. He'd aimed for the brain, but that approach is officially off the table. Enraged, the demon erupts in a violet aura and starts hunting the mage down. The monster barrels towards our boy, cornering Sun Wu against a wall and forcing him to play his final trump card. Activating the Mother Nature's heart skill, he boosts his mana recovery speed by 1000% for 60 seconds. With this buff, he starts firing off a barrage of Rasengans, and it doesn't even matter if Sun Wu can't defeat the monster, because he's just buying time. His energy blasts slam into the demon's body, inflicting severe burns all over its form. The beast stumbles to the ground as Sun Wu unleashes even more attacks, forcing the demon purely onto the defensive, just to block the onslaught. Our boy is fine with this, as long as he can maintain his distance from the monster. His primary target is the demon's head, though landing a clean hit is proving to be incredibly difficult. Frustrated, the demon is getting overwhelmed by the relentless assault from Sun Wu, who thinks he's actually pulling this off. Unfortunately for him, that 1 minute evaporates in a flash. The tables have turned, and now he's the one on the ropes, while his opponent regenerates at lightning speed. The demon is already back at full health, but before it can land a finishing blow, Agent Hyun-soo dives in, delivering a fatal strike that decapitates and dismembers the monster. Just like that, the demon is neutralized, and the situation is back under control. The special agent thanks the young man for holding the monster off until he could intervene. He then asks to see Sun Wu's identification license for a future commendation. Our boy presents his humble C rank card, which stuns the agent, who figured he had to be at least a B rank. Besides Hyun Soo, Ian Jin and So Jin also arrive on the scene, which totally startles our guy. How annoying that they decide to show up now, when they should have been here much, much earlier. Observing the mage from a distance, So Jin wonders if he's seen this person somewhere before. I mean, I'm pretty sure if he saw his technique just once, he'd know exactly who he was. Seo Jin approaches our hero and asks if he happens to know a Kim Sun Woo. He adds that the kid is a student at the Military Magic Academy. Even Ian Jin notices the uncanny resemblance between them. Sticking to his cover, Sun Woo insists he's never heard of the name. Luckily, Agent Hyun Soo thinks they're wasting his time and subtly shoos them away. Afterwards, he goes back to praising our boy, but Seo Jin remains extremely suspicious of this guy and glares daggers at him. Sun Woo plays it off cool, as if stepping in was simply his duty, while the agent concludes that he must go report the situation. Sun Woo thanks him for the save, and after Hyun Soo leaves, the system interface pops up to acknowledge his participation in the subjugation mission. Things are looking dicey because variables are starting to deviate from the main storyline. The system registers this change and bumps his causality points up by 0.2, all thanks to Sun Woo's intervention. Causality will allow him to forge his own power in this world, especially if he takes it upon himself to resolve a major event. This means our boy can literally alter destiny just by intervening in the final clash between the hero and the monster crow, the very entity responsible for the hero's demise. As for his abilities, they hinge entirely on his causality score. There's also a Deus Ex Machina effect. Once he hits 100 points, it grants him any single wish. Naturally, the first thing on Sun Woo's mind is bouncing back to his friends in the real world. That alone is enough fuel to make him grind even harder, because he now has a chance to save the hero Seojin and rack up causality points. So from this point forward, our guy is going to crash the main storyline as much as he possibly can. In the following scene, Sun Woo snags a 15,001 reward from the Mage Association for holding back the demon. Having worked his butt off for this cash, his immediate thought was to splurge on some high-end services. So he rolls up to a lavish hotel for mages only, the Hansung Hotel, which is owned by the Hansung Group. This corporation wields immense power and wealth, and they are also a major player in the main plot. Sun Woo gets a warm welcome and bumps into Han Sejin, the vice chairman of the Hansung conglomerate. This man is at the top of the list to inherit the entire corporation. Sejin learns that his sister wants to have dinner with him, and as it turns out, that sister is none other than Seonga. This serves as a stark reminder to Sun Woo that she's a piece of this puzzle, too. In his room, he contemplates his strategy for the spear. The weapon is far too flashy and will definitely have to be sold off. The enhancement book, however, could be clutch later on. Regarding the herbs, he plans to get them to the CEO, but to make that connection, he'll have to wait until the next day. The next morning, the news is buzzing about a mage's triumph in conquering the hidden floor of the trial tower. The footage shows the heroic feat of a C-rank mage who also managed to subdue a demon. Shortly after, the Mage Association officially commends Kim Jin-woo for his incredible accomplishments, and they're even mulling over a promotion to A rank. The public is shell-shocked that this guy materialized out of thin air and pulled off such a feat in a single day. They also seem to believe he single-handedly defeated the demon. With his reputation and fame skyrocketing, the system grants him the title of Little Hero. Nearly 2 million people are now following his story, earning him a whopping 21,000 points in one shot. Sun Woo is thrilled. He has successfully established his new identity in the eyes of the association. Now that he's in the spotlight, he heads to Hansung Pharmaceuticals to meet the CEO. People all around were starting to recognize the famous guy from television. From a distance, Sun Woo spots another mage. It's the legendary S-rank powerhouse, Jang Soo-ji of the Hansung clan. He's genuinely stunned to see an S-rank mage just hanging around here. The receptionist then spots Jin Woo, and our guy properly introduces himself, stating his intent to sell some herbs he acquired from the tower. Eventually, he is escorted into a room with the Hansung director herself. She is thoroughly impressed with the items he presents. Sensing the herb's energy was potent and rare compared to standard items, she goes as far as to call it a divine medicine. This prompts her to wonder how this young man could possibly know of its rarity. Sun Woo coolly replies that he has a background in medical research, when, in reality, the only thing he knows are the specific properties of the divine grass. It possesses the ability to amplify the effects of other herbs without having any inherent properties of its own. Processing it correctly at this stage is incredibly difficult. That's precisely why he's entrusting the task to the genius pharmacist CEO. She doesn't quite grasp his angle, but it's clear she's captivated by this herb and asks for his terms. Holding up 5 fingers, our guy boldly demands a 500 million won advance, holy smokes, and even a piece of the company's shares. The CEO finds this offer slightly offensive, thinking this mage is clueless about what he's saying. Instead of faltering, the mage explains that the divine grass could eventually be commercialized and would corner the entire market. Conceding his point, the director insists that shares are completely off the table. Sunwoo then pivots to proposing a VIP membership card for the underground auction. He also requests potion and item crafting rights. He assures her he will pay for the services rendered. The director studies him for a moment before it clicks. He wants her to procure the things he requires. But then, our guy unleashes a ridiculous countermove that sends a shiver down her spine. Sunwoo confesses that he will expose the weakness of her brother, Sejin. He knows full well she is scheming to seize complete control of the Hansung group. He knows she's so ruthless she doesn't give a darn if it destroys her own family. The scene cuts to a dark corner where the demons have gathered. Here, they're discussing Jang Han's death, which they could have easily prevented. Enraged, a demon named Beckham completely obliterates the table. Writhing in regret, his subordinate flashes back to their leader's command. If they unleash hell on humanity right now, they'd be the ones walking into a death trap. Beckgang's rage boils over, wondering how much longer they have to lurk in the shadows like total cowards. His blood pounds at the thought of Kim Jin-yu, and he vows to slaughter the mage who took down his friend. His partner argues it's a bad play, especially since Jin-yu, that very mage, is making serious headway with their client. Beckgang just smirks, convinced it's fine. After all, his client is infinitely more ruthless than he is. Elsewhere, the Hansung heirs, Sejin and Sejun, have a little chat. And just as Beckgang predicted, one of them is savage enough to gleefully tear their own family apart. On the drive, Sejin probes his sister about her daily life. She scoffs, revealing how miserable and utterly draining it all is. Her brother muses that their old man was way too hasty in signing over a mountain of shares to her. He even slickly suggests she just hand them over, letting him run the show while she can play vice chair. The offer is so insulting it sends a jolt of fury through her. Speaking of which, Sunwoo has her number now. He's running 2 separate accounts for his dual identities, and he's pretty sure he played his cards perfectly by meeting her. Thanks to selling off his loot, he doesn't have to sweat about heading back home. The thing about her is she has an absolutely insane network. Sunwoo knows for a fact she's going to cross-reference the weakness. He fed her. Right on cue, a text from Segian pops up. She's cheerfully on board to be his personal errand runner for 1 month. The system officially registers her as one of our boy's trusted figures. She's even sending an advance payment today, which has him buzzing. Sunwoo texts back, reminding her to craft the potions and the entrance ticket. But that's not something Segian can whip up instantly. She'll hit him up once both are sorted out. With that deal locked in, our boy realizes that maintaining his second identity, Jin Yu, could be a huge problem because it triggers the whole demon-related questline. And this character already had a built-in revenge plot, so that collision was bound to happen. Sunwoo dives into the system's traits and finds the whole category of skills that can sense killing intent. For the insane price of 50,000 points. It costs a fortune, but the payoff is massive. The ability to feel the bloodlust from anyone around him. That's why our guy snaps it up, seeing it as a small price to keep his head on his shoulders. A few more days tick by, and the potions he ordered are finally ready. Segian sets up their second meeting, explaining how she mixed in a divine herb that'll amplify both the effects and the side effects. These mana elixirs will jack up mana recovery by 500% for 5 minutes. But they're followed by a 30-minute exhaustion debuff, making them a serious double-edged sword. What really grinds the sharp-witted director's gears is why a mage this skilled would ever need such a crosting, desperate, all-or-nothing elixir in the first place. Then there's the fact he knew about her conflict with her brother. Segion brings up the weakness he mentioned and explains she personally verified it, through her own connections. The results were staggering. She had zero clue her brother was responsible for the deaths of so many people. The fact he's in contact with multiple mages or demons is another huge red flag. But the bigger question is how this guy, a seemingly average C-rank mage, managed to uncover all of that. Sunwoo only knows this stuff because of the novel's plot, where Sejin eventually teams up with demons out of pure greed. He's one of the story's major villains because of his corruption, but our boy can't exactly say that out loud to his sister. To shut her down gracefully, our dude requests a massive 5% stake in her company. That completely kills the mood for Segion, as this was his way of giving her a hard no. As for the arena ticket, Segion got it, for him, but it's not easily transferable. Instead, he'll have to go with her, which is also why she's dressed to the nines. The director is curious about his goal, while Sun Woo simply explains that he plans on using his own money. A beat of silence passes before Segian asks what he's going to do with it. Turns out our boy plans to burn every last cent on gambling. Segian actually calls him a madman and reminds this clown their deal is up in a month. She is seriously disappointed in the mage, but our boy couldn't give a damn what she thinks. He already got what he came for, looking to earn even more of her trust by conquering the next challenge waiting in the arena. In the next shot, we see Sun Woo and Sejong just as our guy gets hooked up with a slick VIP wristband, officially making him the newest member of the crew. A man approaches them, and Sun Woo clocks him instantly. It's Haryang, the S-tier fiend, and one of the story's main antagonists. This dude is terrifying, mainly because he owns the entire underground arena. He gives the new guy a quick nod, and then disappears just as quickly. Sun Woo makes a mental note: do not get involved with that guy, or it's game over. Later, inside the arena, the crowd is electric, glued to the show. Sejong is blown away. He never expected this many people would show up. They've all flocked here for Ian Hongju, one of the most legendary fighters on the circuit. This beast has reigned as the undisputed champion for 3 straight years. In terms of raw combat ability, the man is an A-class mage. Sejong figures with a record like that, everyone's money is on him. Sun Woo confirms it's true, adding that to make any real money, they'll have to pull a totally different play. Sejong is completely baffled, watching him walk up to place a bet. The absolute madman slaps down 530 million on Hongju's opponent. Even the staff is shell-shocked, while Sejong thinks this idiot has officially lost it. The big looming question is, who's stepping up against Hongju? It's none other than the rookie, Liang, who's making his grand debut. The clerk scrambles to inform his boss about the absurd wager placed against Hongju. Haryang puts 2 and 2 together, realizing this guy must be the same one in the rabbit mask who just registered. He's intrigued, wondering if Sun Woo is just some rich kid with a strange hobby. By the way, a couple of fiends are also lurking in the nearby vicinity. Beckham is absolutely furious when he discovers the mage has shown up at the event with Sejong. The guy is itching for a chance to eliminate the mage, claiming he's going to settle a score and serve some justice for his friend. Inside the arena, Hongju's previous opponent has just tapped out. The audience is absolutely roasting the guy for making them lose their precious money. However, this kind of reaction is to be expected in Sejong's eyes. Since this is an underground fighting ring, the event organizers would never let someone actually get killed in combat. That's why the matches are usually called off before things get too real. Next up is Hongju's opponent, the one with the 530 million wager on his head. This will be the rookie Liang, who is about to cause a major upset today. Sun Woo can see that. Everyone except for him has placed their bets on Hongju. In fact, they're clowning on the guy who dropped over $500 million on a total newbie. Our boy is playing the long game, knowing he stands to win a 6-time payout if his prediction is on the money. Hongju enters the ring, and his opponent, Liang, makes his way forward. Sejong is in total shock that they'd schedule a fight between 2 fighters with such a massive difference in weight class. Even our hero didn't expect Liang to be this scrawny. In truth, he's here for reasons that go way beyond making money. There's a villainous group named Zone that operates within the arena and holds significant importance in the narrative. Liang is the last person destined to join that crew, so Sun Woo wanted to scout his fighting style firsthand. Of course, seeing him now, our guy is actually starting to get nervous about his bet, even though he knows the outcome from the novel. Liang is fated to never lose a single match in the arena. His opponent, Hongju, scoffs at the kid's level, thinking this is a total waste of time. He lunges forward to end the match quickly, but his thunderous charge is casually dodged by the smaller guy. Unfazed, Hongju follows up with a heavy punch to the gut that knocks the wind out of the kid and sends him flying into the nearest wall. Liang is down instantly, to the roaring approval of the crowd. Ironically, Sun Woo starts thinking he's made a catastrophic mistake betting on this guy. In another part of the city, Beckham is heading toward the arena. As much as he wants to raid the joint, Haryang is running this event, and messing with him is not a smart move. He asks what time the event ends and learns it's 10:30, which means he's perfectly content to wait until the show is over. Back at the fight, Liang is getting absolutely wrecked. Hongju shows no mercy, throwing a massive punch that creates a shockwave. The guy gives him zero chance to get back on his feet. He's juggling him like a character in Tekken. Liang is slammed to the ground, his body covered in bruises, with almost no fight left in him. Hongju's name is being chanted by all his supporters, while Sun Woo fears the worst is about to happen. He can't believe the story was actually wrong, and then it happens. A single spike erupts through the champion's chest as Hongju stares in utter disbelief at his opponent. The champ is bruised and battered, but he ain't out of the fight yet. Hongju desperately lunges forward, trying to clutch a victory, but fam, the game was already over for him. Liang conjures a fresh set of razor-sharp spikes, each one pulsing with sinister dark energy, and all four of them rocket toward Hongju's upper body. Blasting him with a brutal barrage, the champion crumples to the ground, blood pooling beneath him. 5 wicked spikes are now embedded in his chest and abdomen. A deafening silence falls over the arena. The entire crowd is speechless. Sejian can't even process what just happened, and in total denial, her crew starts calling the opponent a coward. Meanwhile, Sunwoo sees this as his cue to make an exit now that the match is done. Segion bolts after him, while Harry Ang senses something deeply suspicious is going on. The timing of it all was way too convenient, and he knows Liang only won because the champion got careless. Even so, he realizes the mystery man who bet blindly on Liang had this all planned from the start, and for that reason, he orders his chief of staff to dig up every last detail on Kim Jin-woo's identity. On the way back, Segion's mind is a total mess. She has no idea who this guy is, or how he knew with absolute certainty that Liang would win. Playing it completely chill, our boy just says it was a random hunch, basically curving her hard to shut down the questions. Sunwoo hit the absolute jackpot with that bet today. His account balance just exploded to a staggering 3,000,000,001. And just think, this dude started out with a measly 30,000. It's insane how fast everything can change. Thanks to this massive win, Segion's respect and trust for him are fully restored, and she's more intrigued than ever about his true identity. Her intense interest just snagged him 7,000 points, helping him slowly recover all the points he sank into his killing intent detection skill. But just as Sunwoo starts to feel safe and enjoy the win, his senses go on high alert. A heavy, suffocating, killing intent is swirling around them. This is weird, because according to the original story, a demon should be the one showing up to get revenge for Kang Han. Han Segion notices his sudden shift in demeanor and asks what's wrong. He turns to her and asks for a favor. At the same time, a figure named Red watches from a parked car and tells his driver to stop. He's going to kill him right here, right now. He steps out, but Han Segion is nowhere in sight. He wonders if this Kim Jin-woo could have really killed Kang Han. The kid's energy is pathetically weak, and his body looks completely untrained. It's unbelievable. Our boy pulls out a small vial and chugs the entire contents. As the empty container clatters to the ground, he whispers for Red to bring it on. That vial wasn't just some random drink, it was a mana enhancement potion. Our MC knew full well that Red had been stalking him this whole time. Red feels a sudden shift in the kid's energy, though it's not exactly threatening yet. Still, he has to admit, it's pretty impressive. Instantly, Red fires an arrow, but our hero quickly launches an orb of energy and dodges the attack with ease. Red isn't too worried. He's got 2 more shots left. He fires them off immediately, sending our boy into a panic as a massive explosion erupts. Han Segion, now driving a car, realizes it's all started. A little while ago, he had confirmed to her that they were being followed. Han Segion had wondered who it could be. As he pulled out a vial containing an elixir, he stated that their pursuer was from a rival corporation. A corporation just like the Hansung Group. That's why he led the stalker to this deserted location. He needed to deal with this guy, no matter the cost. He knew it wouldn't be easy because the enemy's magic power was far beyond B rank. Hearing this, Han Segion got a little worried, but he reassured her that he'd be fine, and that he was counting on her completely. She decided to trust his plan and urged him to come back safely. Back on the battlefield, our guy is dodging attacks like it's second nature. He was an enhancement specialist up until his first year, after all. Red notices he's only dodging, not fighting back, so he unleashes another attack. Thinking there's no way his target can escape its lightning-fast speed, he closes in on our MC, who panics but still manages to dodge again just in time. Now, the main character only has 2 minutes left before the potion wears off. He decides to end this quickly and activates his skill, Heart of Mother Nature. The moment he activates it, Red feels the energy signature coming off him completely change. It's enough to make him nervous. Kim Jin-woo plants his feet and then blasts toward his opponent with the speed of a thunderclap. The opponent realizes the situation is about to get dangerous, so he throws everything he has into stopping the charge. Red is stunned when he sees the kid weave through every single attack, and then he's right in his face. He tries to block with his staff, but our guy slams a crackling orb of lightning right into his heart. Our MC realizes he's created an opening, so he unleashes a relentless flurry of attacks, putting his opponent completely on the defensive. Then he realizes he can target his brain, so he closes the distance in a flash, grabs the guy's neck, and starts to squeeze. But the tides are about to turn against our hero. The potion's effect is wearing off, and he's about to be hit with crippling mana exhaustion. For the next 30 minutes, our guy knows he is totally screwed. His opponent snatches his staff back and prepares to run him through. A wicked smile spreads across his face. But suddenly, Someone appears from behind and slices him in half like a banana peel. Our hero lets out a massive sigh of relief. He's been saved. It's none other than Kang Suzy, an S-rank mage also known as the Sword of the Hansong family, who saved his life. So, it actually happened. Baek Kang was fated to be killed by a monster. He's absolutely ecstatic to see Kang Suzy, a top-tier powerhouse from the original story. She took down Baek Kang with a single blow, even though he was an A-ranker. Kang Suzy is furious that someone dared to lay a hand on the youngest daughter of the Hansong family. Han Se-gyeon rushes over to our MC's side, anxiously asking if he's okay. As she tries to help him up, he politely says he's fine, and that he doesn't need any help. He realizes his plan to stall for time until backup arrived is what saved his life. She gives him a small smile. With your life on the line, you bring your biggest gun. The system confirms it. Baek Gang has been eliminated. This move alters the main plot, bumping up causality by 0.6, and more importantly, securing Han Se-gyeon's complete trust. As the notification flashes, our guy breathes a massive sigh of relief, seeing the stack of rewards roll in. That's when Kang Suzy asks Han Se-gyeon if they should report this to the chairman. Getting ambushed by a demon is no small deal. He instantly realizes that if word leaks about the Hansong group getting hit, it would unleash absolute chaos. He knew they needed to keep this on the down low. This was a major break from the original story, and they both knew if this got out, things would get complicated and messy fast. So, Han Se-gyeon makes the call. This stays between them. Kang Suzy agrees without hesitation. Fast forward 3 days. Our MC is just chilling, sprawled out on his bed, and scrolling through his phone. As payback for protecting her during the showdown that got Baek Gang killed, she offers to dig up any intel he needs. He seizes the opportunity, immediately cashing in that favor, to ask about the commercial launch date for the divine herb medicine. Right on schedule, the news feed blows up. Han Se-gyeon has pioneered a miracle drug that's about to send stock prices to the moon. Our protagonist had already sunk every last dime of his savings into Han Seong's pharmaceutical stock, betting it all on this very moment. Any minute now, the stock is set to skyrocket. The main character is just stunned, watching the explosive growth, because before his regression, a lifetime of grinding dungeons couldn't even score him a decent house. He never imagined making bank could be this easy, but even so, it leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. All of a sudden, his phone buzzes. It's a text from Han Se-gyeon, inviting him to lunch tomorrow and mentioning she has a gift for him, which totally catches him off guard. The next day, he gets to the meeting spot early, a hardwired habit of his. He lets her know about the profits he just raked in. She's curious how much he made from the pharma stock, guessing maybe around 50 million, but she's absolutely floored when he reveals he pocketed 3 billion in a single day. She gets all flustered, telling him to just consider it a small token of her gratitude. He thanks her, then brings up the gift she mentioned. She tells him she's uncovered the identity of the demon who attacked them last time. His name was Beckham. More than that, she reveals he was a notorious assassin who operated disguised as a human. Digging even deeper, she discovered someone who was constantly making deals with Beckham. It was none other than her own blood brother, Han Se-gyeon. She already had a hunch her brother was messing with demons, but she never suspected Baek Gang was one of them. While our guy finds this fascinating, he doesn't think the intel is valuable enough to be called a gift. She calls him out for being so transactional, even after they literally saved each other's lives. Then she pulls out the real gift, a gesture to show she's serious about wanting a partnership with him. She scheduled their meeting today because she's about to be swamped for a while, making him wonder if something big is about to go down. She explains that after discovering what her brother was up to, the mastermind behind the attack is no longer a secret, and she's not one to leave a debt unpaid, whether it's a favor or a grudge. With that, she stands and makes her exit. Meanwhile, he's thinking she's misunderstanding that her brother was actually the top dog of that crew. But whatever, the guy is a villain, and he's destined to become a thorn in her side anyway. Using her to get to Han Se-gyeon is a seriously tempting play. Suddenly, she calls back over her shoulder, saying she hopes he likes the gift she picked out personally. He thanks her and opens the box. He finds a bracelet pulsing with magical energy inside, and a huge grin spreads across his face. A notification pops up. Haryeon has become curious about him, and he scores another 1,500 points as a bonus. We cut to Haryeon in his office, reviewing some reports when a man named John Hee walks in and greets him. Haryeon asks if he's here about the 10 Demons Society, and the man confirms it. But before they get to that, John Hee has a question about the incident a few days ago, when his associates Jang Han and Beckham were killed. Coincidentally, both cases were connected to a single human mage, and according to Beckham's report, that same mage had visited the arena not too long ago. The question John Hee lays on the table is, does Haryeon have any idea who Kim Jin-woo is? Haryeon looks down at the report, then at the photo of our main character. The moment he sees him, it clicks. This was the VIP guest who made that insane bet on Liang Liang. John Hee demands that Haryeon fork over all information on the main character, promising that if he does, He'll splatter his blood on Haryan's dead friends' graves, an offer Haryan finds utterly repulsive. His aura suddenly flares, as he warns John Hee to be ready for the consequences if he even thinks about touching one of his clients. John Hee immediately starts sweating, apologizing profusely, and swearing he won't touch the main character, begging for forgiveness. Haryan tells him to just get on with it and deliver the message from the 10 Demons Society. Dripping with sweat, John Hee explains that a prophecy has been handed down from the sacred relic. The prophet's altar whispered of a coming doom, and of the 5 children chosen by destiny to slaughter the demons. Upon turning 18, their latent powers would violently awaken, and the Sorcerer King himself would meet his end at their hands. He knew the king would inevitably pull some pathetic stunt. Bored, he drawled. And what else? Junhee then dropped the bombshell. The prophecy pinpointed that the child coming of age this year was a student at the Magic Military Academy. Meanwhile, at that very academy, our protagonist decided the Kim Jin-woo persona had served its purpose. It was time to put it on ice. He couldn't get Harrow out of his head, a total enigma he was dying to figure out, but now was absolutely not the time to get tangled in that web. Letting the ancient scroll hover in midair, he reminded himself that he had far more critical priorities to tackle. He unfurled the scroll, revealing its true nature. It was essentially a grimoire, a textbook of raw magic. Just as he finished absorbing its contents, a dose of reality slapped him in the face. The midterm exams were about to begin. This was a high-stakes event where students had to flex their skills in front of a gallery of powerful officials. For Lee So-jun, this was directly tied to his own growth, making the pressure absolutely immense. The child of prophecy, Lee's future teammate and a being born with the power to obliterate demons, was about to paint a massive target on their back for every dark creature out there. In the original storyline, the demonic horde was set to storm the school at 4 p.m., a calculated move to smoke out the prophesied child before their powers awakened. But Lee already steamrolled every last one of them, and while that whole showdown was low-key, it was still loaded with critical plot points. This means our protagonist has to keep a close watch on both Lai and the kid from the prophecy. A teacher then makes an announcement that sends a wave of groans through the student body. They were already completely burned out from the midterm exams. He declares, with a booming voice, that real combat is training, and training is real combat. And this year's midterm exam would now involve several days of self-directed sparring sessions. The students were absolutely floored. He adds that anyone who can't find a partner can either observe or train solo. In the back, our main character, Ayu Ara, is buzzing with excitement. The mention of Lee So-jun clicks in his head, realizing they're destined to team up, just like in the original plot. But what he didn't see coming was the dead silence. Not a single person offered to be his partner. Then again, it kinda made sense. Even with his genius-level talent for theory and barrier busting, nobody wanted to team up with the lowest-ranked student in the entire school. Still, he already knew exactly who he was going to partner with. Elsewhere, Park In-hoon and Ayu Ara are locked in a fiery clash. She's trash-talking him, spitting that with her abilities. The number 1 rank should have gone to her, not him. He fires back, telling her not to get cocky. He hasn't even finished warming up. He unleashes a devastating attack. From inside the school, Eun-hee Ae-jung watches the 2 top-ranked students go at it in a brutal firefight. She has to turn away, knowing that watching any longer will just make her feel even more pathetic. No one wanted to team up with her either, since she was ranked a miserable 82nd in the school. She might be a book-smart genius, but her practical skills were seriously lagging. Our protagonist feels a pang of guilt for her. Her body just couldn't keep up with her brilliant mind, and deep down, she was a genuinely good person. She tries to practice on a training dummy, but even her most powerful attacks barely leave a scratch. Utterly dejected, her frustration boils over. All this effort for absolutely nothing. That's when our main character approaches. He tells her flat out that her materialization form is pathetic. She whips around to face him as he adds that the ice she's throwing isn't even cold, and her accuracy is garbage, proof that her fundamentals are a complete mess. He knows this is his fault. In the original timeline, she was supposed to skyrocket to the number 6 rank in their year. It was all thanks to advice from Lee during their last dungeon crawl, but because he interfered, she never got that chance. And now, she's stuck in this miserable rut. He steps closer, telling her she's missing something vital, and if she partners with him, he guarantees she'll at least be able to hold her own. But even though he's trying to help, she accuses him of being unskilled and assumes he's just trying to crush her self-esteem, to get her to listen to him, but he flips it right back, saying she's just lashing out because she can't handle the truth about her own power level. She snaps that she thought he was a decent guy during the dungeon expedition, but she was dead wrong. Realizing he went too far, he tries to apologize, but she sees it as a direct hit to her pride. She challenges him to a duel, wanting to witness the amazing skills of the school's absolute worst student. This actually makes him smile. At least he's getting a reaction out of her. He grins and tells her to bring it on. She immediately starts launching shards of ice at him. Our boy drops into a stance and begins effortlessly weaving between them. The second he got serious, she felt it. The entire intensity of his materialization shifted into a whole other league. He yells out, asking what the hell the purpose is behind her attacks, telling her that her patterns are way too simple. An ice mage is supposed to dominate the battlefield with versatility. Enraged, she taunts him, asking if he wants to see something different. She begins channeling magic into a massive attack that nearly knocks him off his feet. And yet, he still manages to dodge it. Her mind is reeling. She thought there was no way he could pull this off, no matter how much he trained. Yet here he was, doing the impossible. He's perched on a chunk of ice, thinking to himself that to awaken someone's true potential, you just need to give them the right push. And provoking her was definitely the right call. She furiously charges him, screaming about how he plans to win, if all he's going to do is dodge her attacks instead of fighting back. He leaps off the ice, saying that inexperienced materialization mages all have one thing in common. The moment you close the distance, they're incredibly easy to shut down. He flashes toward her and unleashes his own attack. She can feel the raw intensity of his magic, but right before the blow connects, he stops. He then admits it was a good sparring session. Crushed, she collapses to her knees, knowing she was utterly defeated, and that she was really going to have to learn magic from this guy. He calms her down, insisting her talent is just waiting to be unlocked, and he'll be the one to help her if she's willing to play ball. She stares at him, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and desperation, before finally shaking his hand, agreeing to trust his methods. The system pings with an update. The character Eun Hee-sung has taken an interest in him, and her affection level has spiked. With the deal sealed, he drops the first bomb. She's about to undergo attribute adaptation training. He presents her with a strange cube, explaining that all magic begins with one fundamental principle: synchronizing with an element. In other words, she has to truly understand the core attribute that governs her entire magical potential. He lays it out plain and simple. Without mastering the basics, every ounce of effort she pours into training will be wasted, and her skills will be permanently stuck in neutral. She admits she's heard of attribute adaptation training, but she's never heard of a version that involves being completely submerged in solid ice. He pushes back, urging her on, explaining that feeling the attribute with her entire body is the fastest and most direct path to power. She needs to start syncing up, now. Inside a shadowy, derelict building, John Hyuk's chilling voice cuts through the silence. Is everyone accounted for? Several figures kneeling before him confirm they've gathered the demonic forces as ordered, positioning them all around the Magic Academy. The assassination of the prophesied child is greenlit for next week. Their inside source confirms that security will be laughably thin during the midterm exams. They swear they're ready to move, but one of them brings up a nagging question. What happened to Huryeon's promised backup? John Hyuk's response is cold. That fell through. I heard Huryeon found something more important than the survival of his own race. A wave of panic hits Yangjun. She knows that taking out the prophesied child with only 4 B-rank demons is a total suicide mission. One of her comrades lets out a derisive snort. You really need a whole army just to snuff out a single person? She whirls on him, her voice a furious hiss, reminding him that a small security gap doesn't mean the mission is a cakewalk. On that day, the campus will be swarming with elite scouts from every major guild, and they can't possibly handle that kind of opposition alone. He smirks, suggesting that the entire script changes if they can successfully lure those interfering pests into a trap. John Hyuk then unveils his trump card, the Grand Demon Barrier, assuring them they can unleash hell without restraint because he'll be fighting right alongside them. His final order is absolute: kill the child of prophecy, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, back with our boy, he's deep in his session with Eun Hee-sung. He's guiding her, telling her to burn the feeling of the cold into her very soul, so she can imagine ice into existence without needing to be encased in it. She focuses her mana, and with a surge of power, a razor-sharp ice spear materializes. A thrill of pride shoots through her. She created it with her own strength. Even our main character can't help but feel a swell of pride for her. Her skills have exploded after just a few days of his intense regimen. He tells her he knew she had it in her all along. Right on cue, the system flashes another notification. She has begun to place her trust in him, and just like that, he banks a cool 1,500 bonus points. Fired up, she promises him she'll believe anything he says from now on. She even demands he throw more ice at her, claiming she can handle it, but he can see the subtle shiver of pain she's trying to hide. Even so, he unleashes another wave of ice. This brutal process is absolutely necessary for her to evolve and become the ally he needs by his side. As the fresh wave of ice hits, her body trembles uncontrollably. All the while, a figure watches them from a hidden corridor above. It's Lee Sojun, peering down from the walkway, wondering what the hell they're doing, and assuming he's witnessing some hardcore school bullying. He thinks our guy is straight up tormenting Eun Hae-sung by burying her in a mountain of ice and questions if this is even allowed. He decides to report it to a teacher immediately. Just then, Miss Lee Hee-yi approaches him silently from behind. He immediately reports what he's seeing. Miss Lee Hee-yi and simply asks, "Are you referring to the attribute adaptation training session?" This throws him for a complete loop. The teacher clarifies that she's been monitoring them since the very first day. And in that incredibly short time, the girl's ability to manipulate her magical energy has improved dramatically. She knew Yoon Hae-sung was doing well, but what truly astounds her is the brilliant insight of the student who correctly diagnosed her core problem and is now helping her break through her limits. The teacher is also shocked that Lee Sojun even knows who the kid is. She assumed Sojun only bothered to remember the names of the top-ranked students. This leaves him flustered, trying to stammer out an explanation. She admits that Kim Sun-yu possesses immense potential, so learning his name early is actually a very smart move. Lee Sojun can barely process this information. That kid is literally the lowest-ranked student in the entire school, but the teacher turns the tables on him, wondering when he plans to level up his own skills, if he's spending all his energy carrying Han Yang. Because at the end of the day, results are everything. A new idea then sparks in her mind. Perhaps she should give the boy a real chance to show everyone what he's made of during the midterm exams. Meanwhile, our protagonist realizes he's in deep trouble as he browses the system shop. He desperately wants to buy a spatial pouch, but the price tag is a staggering 20,000 points, and his current balance is a paltry 8,500. He knows how insanely valuable a spatial pouch is. The ability to summon stored items from anywhere is a game changer for both combat and daily life. He knows he's going to get a 50% discount, percentage points, but the score he had was still way below what he needed. He cursed himself out, wondering why the one time a sale hits is the exact moment he's completely broke. Somehow, he had to grind out 11,500 points in just 5 days, and it had to be a guaranteed method. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his teacher, Lee Hee-young, telling him to come to the faculty office before school the next day. When he arrived, Aura, Park In-hoan, and Kim Sun-yu were already there. Lee Hee-young dropped the news. The three of them had been handpicked for the second-year advancement special class. She told them to think of it as an honors program. It was designed for students with huge potential, no matter their grades. Our guy's mind raced. He knew Lee Sojun was in the enhancement track special class. If he could just get into this one, he'd have a solid chance of getting close to him. But out of nowhere, Park In-hoan objected to him joining. This left our main character wondering what this dude's problem was. Park In-hoan looked down on him with pure contempt. He declared that he was ranked 5th in the entire year, and that lumping him in with the school's bottom-tier trash was totally unfair. He then pleaded with Aura to back him up, but she just shut him down cold, telling him she wouldn't say a thing because he needed to mind his own business. He was completely shocked, muttering to himself that this is exactly why she has 0 friends. The teacher then turned to our boy and asked him a question. She wanted to know his thoughts on Park In-hoan's little outburst. He just replied that if rank was the issue, then he'd just raise his rank. The teacher challenged him to prove his skills during the upcoming midterm exam. He'd have to place in the top 80 or higher to get in. He then turned to Yejung, knowing that if things followed the original script, this was totally possible. She followed his lead. The second-year midterm was essentially a co-op battle where they had to team up with one other person. Their mission? To fight a summoned green ogre. If they managed to strike the weak point hidden inside the ogre, they could take it down instantly. The problem was, the exact location was constantly shifting, making it incredibly hard to find. That's why most students settled for a decent score just by surviving the onslaught of attacks. But the true geniuses? They could slay the beast in a single blow. We see Lee Sojun in the middle of his battle, effortlessly slicing his green ogre to pieces. The crowd went wild, praising his insane skills. On the other side of the field, our guy brings his partner out, fully intending to climb straight to the top ranks. Yejung began focusing her mana alongside him as they prepared to attack the green ogre. A ton of students started mocking him, remembering how he'd spectacularly failed the public placement test. It made everyone else think his admission to the school was a total scandal. And just as they were all expecting him to get publicly humiliated, he received a bonus of 1,000 points. Facing the green ogre, he activated his outsider's privilege. He knew, this time, he wasn't going to be a laughingstock. And in a flash, he attacked the weak point of one ogre, taking it down in an instant. The second ogre roared in fury and charged at him, and he thought this was going to be a much easier fight than he'd anticipated. Just as the ogre was about to crush him, he spotted Junhee in the crowd, wondering what he was doing here, and the distraction caused his attack to miss. The crowd immediately started trashing him, although they still admitted it was a pretty good showing for the dude ranked dead last. Sweat started pouring down his face as he wondered what the mastermind behind the recent incidents was doing here. He realized the demon invasion wasn't supposed to happen until 4 p.m. after the test. He was completely lost in thought as the ogre prepared to strike, but his partner saved him by freezing its arm solid. She ran toward him to snap him out of his daze. As she grabbed onto him, he raised his hand and one-shotted the second ogre. Everyone was speechless, because nobody ever expected the worst student in the school to actually win. The entire arena erupted in cheers for him. He was suddenly hit with a massive flood of points, and his system was blowing up with notifications. His partner, overjoyed, threw her arms around him in a hug as everyone praised her amazing transfer skills. But he couldn't process any of it because the exam wasn't the main issue. The issue was that the timeline had officially strayed from the original story. Cold sweat ran down his back as he wondered if his choices had actually managed to alter something in the original timeline. As he was stressing about the future of the school, Yejung suddenly asked him why he was sweating absolute buckets all of a sudden. He made up a weak excuse and said he was just going to go get some proper rest. When she said it was her fault that he got into that chaotic situation, he reassured her that she did an amazing job. She blushed when she heard that, and told him he could just skip their practice session if he needed more time to recover. However, our protagonist had a different plan in mind. He realized he needed to figure out exactly how much the timeline had shifted, so he headed straight outside. There, he saw Lee Sojun surrounded by a sea of fans, just as he'd expected. The students were practically begging him to join their guilds instead of any of the others. He tried to shake them off by saying he was only 18 and couldn't even join a guild yet, but the desperate recruiters just kept shoving business cards in his face, forcing him to accept all of them in the chaos. And just like that, our boy swoops in to save him, claiming a teacher needs to see him probably about his test scores. The crowd is totally baffled, wondering why the school's most infamous failure is the one sent to retrieve him. But whatever, Sojun totally catches his drift, and with a quick excuse about not keeping the teacher waiting, he dips. Nearby, a Special Forces agent and his captain watch in disbelief. They just witnessed our guy's true combat prowess firsthand. After all, he's the star pupil of the most legendary Mage Guild master alive, Master Jin Qian. The captain, however, points out that he's still green, lacking any real-world battle experience. He then asks his subordinate why he even tagged along. The agent explains he wanted to investigate the demon incident down by the riverbank, because if Sun Wu really was the one who defeated that demon, he'd be seriously battle-hardened. Changing the subject, the captain asks for his take on our boy. The subordinate dismisses him as just another F-rank scrub, but the captain argues, that kid analyzed the monster's weak point with a single, fleeting glance. That's something only a hardened veteran could pull off with such confidence. The agent is floored by that razor-sharp observation, but they both share a laugh. I mean, a high school student who's secretly a war-torn veteran? Get real. Even so, they note that the kid has a similar vibe to Jin-woo, who's also connected to Sojun, so they decide to keep this mysterious student on their radar. The scene cuts to our boys, who've slipped in through another entrance. They've finally shaken off the persistent guild scouts who were tailing Sun Wu. The two of them quietly blend into the crowd, getting ready to watch the next fight. Our hero, however, stays on high alert. The demons could strike at any second. And this time, he has no idea when it's coming. The timeline has already been altered. So, he decides to let Sun Wu handle John He instead. Just then, the match between their upperclassmen kicks off. Outside, the demon mole feeds John He a full situation report. When he asks how the plan is progressing, she explains that the monster summoning devices have been planted all across the school. However, since Jin is such a wild card, he's been positioned far from the main stage. Hearing this, the demon lord is pleased. He rises, a sphere of pure dark magic crackling in his hand. He's finally activating his brutal plan to hunt down the chosen one. Meanwhile, back in the exam hall, Senior Chung Hyun is absolutely overwhelming Minya and closing in for the final blow. She taps out at the last possible second, and he is declared the winner. Watching this, Sun Wu is completely awestruck. It was an incredible performance. He praises both seniors for their brilliant tactics and sharp skills, but our hero couldn't care less. He's on edge because the match is pretty much over, yet there's still no sign of the demon boss. When Sun Wu asks who he's looking for, he plays it off like he's just seeing if any guilds are scouting him. Sun Wu reassures him, saying he's improved a ton since the start of the semester. He even asks, "How did you level up so fast?" Their conversation is cut short, however, by a massive purple barrier that suddenly materializes, encasing the entire exam hall. Our hero is horrified. Nothing like this ever happened in the first timeline. Students start to panic, wondering if this is some colossal screw-up by the school administration, as they frantically try to call their teachers. As the barrier solidifies, the demonic devices spring to life. All at once, spatial portals rip open out of thin air. Hordes of monsters begin pouring through, ready to feast on the students like it's an all-you-can-eat Thanksgiving buffet. An emergency announcement blares over the speakers, warning of the monster breach. All students are ordered to evacuate as the barrier continues to expand, growing bigger and bigger. John He smirks, reveling in his own genius. Once his barrier traps the teachers inside, the chosen child will have no other choice but to reveal themselves. But when he spots a powerful figure tearing through the monsters, he grinds his teeth in frustration. He never anticipated the special task force would be on site. Moments later, our boys get word that the task force was originally there to observe Sojun's match. But now, they're handling the monster outbreak, so everything should be under control. Our guy wonders if Captain Deok Yun came to see his match. He's seriously relieved they showed up, because now, they have a fighting chance to launch a counterattack. Even so, he's still not sure how to deal with this colossal barrier. It's unlike anything he's ever seen before. The students are screaming for the mages to do something about the dome. A teacher explains, however, that they need at least one more A-rank mage. Some guy tells her that finding high-ranking mages isn't exactly easy. They're incredibly rare, but she tells him to look harder because it will take a minimum of 30 minutes just to dispel the barrier. In reality, our hero knows a barrier from a world-class mage like John He is impossible for them to break. He realizes he has no choice but to take it down himself. But before he can even open his mouth, the demon mole, Ian Jun, materializes to save the day, while our guy is internally screaming, wanting nothing more than to smash his fist into that treacherous demon's face. But he's got zero proof to call her out. And just like that, she's already got the support teacher wrapped around her little finger. She begins weaving an intricate spell to dismantle the barrier. Sun Woo breathes a sigh of relief at the sight, but our hero isn't buying it, silently pulling him into the shadows. At that exact moment, the support mage gets a gut feeling that something is seriously wrong. When a barrier is being taken down from one side while being reinforced from the other, it doesn't just break, it gets exponentially stronger. John He clocks that the sharp-eyed woman has figured out his trap. Needing a distraction, and fast, he instantly pivots and sicks a few goblins on them. They charge the agents and Ian Jun, but the Special Forces captain is having none of it, shutting them down with a single, decisive strike. The demon thanks him and calmly resumes her manipulation of the barrier. All the while, two agents are desperately trying to shield her from the goblin swarm, with Agent Hyun Soo even swearing on the Special Forces' honor that he'll protect her with his very life. Hearing this, the venomous snake thanks him again, a wicked smirk twisting her deceitful face. Outside the exam room, Sun Woo finally asks our boy why on earth he dragged him out to the middle of nowhere. Seojun explains they needed to be isolated so he could personally shatter the barrier himself. Sun Woo is completely lost, pointing out that the teacher and that mage girl are already handling it. Our hero drops the bombshell. That mage is actually a demon, and she's secretly fortifying the barrier from within. Hearing this, Sun Woo panics, insisting they have to report it immediately. But our guy reminds him of a critical issue. They have no concrete evidence, so the teachers would never believe them. That's precisely why he needs Sun Woo to be his mouthpiece. After he personally shatters the barrier, everyone will have to believe Sun Woo, because he's a certified genius, not some unknown F-rank nobody. With that settled, he conjures a massive magic circle to deconstruct the barrier's formula. In a matter of minutes, the entire supercharged barrier evaporates into nothing. Back in the exam room, Ian Jun and everyone else are absolutely floored. Our hero just casually dusts off his hands like it was no big deal and tells Sun Woo to go inform everyone, because they have bigger problems to fry. But Sun Woo needs to know why. Why is he trying so damn hard to make sure nobody discovers his true power? Our guy says he's just content with how things are now and asks him to keep this on the down low, just between the two of them. Back in the exam room, John He is absolutely seething at his underling, who failed to handle one simple job. Meanwhile, the others are praising the teacher and Ian Jun for a job well done. Now that they're free, it's time to unleash hell on these monsters. The teachers go on an absolute rampage, hunting down beasts like true killing machines. The Special Forces team realizes this situation will be contained much faster than they anticipated. The captain confirms they still have 0 leads on the mastermind, so their main objective is to hunt down that shadowy figure. Hearing this, the support mage storms into the conversation to point a finger at the most suspicious person in the room. She marches right up to Ian Jun, grabs her by the collar, and demands to know what her real intentions were with the barrier. One of the men tries to de-escalate, telling her to chill because Ian Jun is just a student. But the mage snaps, furiously screaming that Ian Jun could be a demon. The accusation hits its mark, and poor Ian Jun immediately bursts into tears. The crowd instantly feels guilty for the teacher being so harsh with someone who worked so hard to help them. Agent Hyun Soo requests permission to intervene, but his captain tells him to wait just a little longer. The undercover demon then taunts the teacher, declaring she failed to break the barrier because she couldn't sync with her own trash tier skill level. And that's the exact moment our hero steps in to serve some justice. He looks the teacher dead in the eye and asks if the barrier grew stronger every time she tried to dispel it. Everyone is stunned to see him, and the teacher is in disbelief that he knew exactly what was going on the entire time. Our guy explains he discovered a massive flaw in the barrier's design, but to maintain his cover, he lies, claiming he just happened to know the formula behind it. The second the other students hear this, all suspicion immediately snaps back to the cunning snake. They start frantically checking to see if any A-rank mage named Ian June even exists. Backed into a corner, Ian June has no idea what to do. However, John He has one more card to play. The moment he reveals his face, the Special Forces captain instantly recognizes him as the culprit. But, before his agents can make a move, the demon mastermind vanishes into thin air. The two top agents become dead serious. They realize they're now facing a dangerously high-level A-rank demon. At the same time, Sunwoo notices Ian June is playing her final trump card, her last resort. Suddenly, demons begin popping up everywhere in the crowd, a gigantic serpent demon ready to slaughter as many people as possible before it's taken down. But her single greatest mistake was targeting the wrong person. In a flash, Sunwoo's blade was out, and he cleanly sliced the demon's head from its shoulders without a flicker of hesitation. Immediately after, the special forces and teachers descended upon the other demons hiding in the crowd, swiftly bringing them under control. Sunwoo then gave a nod of thanks to the task force captain, Dio-kyun, the man he had actually crossed paths with about a year ago. The captain returned the thanks for his help, mentioning they would discuss the demon-slaying reward later. Meanwhile, outside, Seol Jun was in hot pursuit of an unknown figure. He whipped around, pure panic on his face, as a massive explosion erupted right where he had sensed the Chosen One was located. Hee-jung's friend had just managed to save her from the psycho demon, who was now fuming because her power level was pathetic compared to her legendary reputation. He even wondered if the terrified girl clinging to her was the dead weight dragging her down. Hee-jung was completely paralyzed, her mind blank, unable to process this waking nightmare. Still, she tried to reassure Ara that she'd provide support, but her friend screamed at her to just run. She was no match for this unhinged monster. With a sneer, Jin blasted right through the fire, separating them, his hand clamped around her throat, high on the thrill of about to taste her premium, mana-filled blood. Just as she was about to black out, Hee-jung unleashed a weak attack in his direction. She screamed at him to let her friend go, that she was the one he should be fighting. The sadistic freak just laughed, mocking her pathetic attempt to save her friend. He fired a laser to finish her off, but, against all odds, she countered with a devastatingly powerful strike. Fueled by the power of friendship, he could only stand there in shock as his entire arm was sliced clean off. What truly terrified him, however, was that the wound refused to heal. Hee-jung herself wondered where that sudden power came from, as it felt nothing like her usual ice magic. That's when Jin's lips curled into a smirk. Her demon-slaying power could only mean one thing. He had finally found the child from the legendary prophecy. He was ecstatic that he would be the one to personally end her life. But a voice cut through the air, saying that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Our boy had arrived just in the nick of time to save her, and he declared that he would be the one to do the killing. Jin, furious at the interruption, unleashed a powerful torrent of dark magic straight at him. Our main character effortlessly blocked it with a magic shield. He then fired a volley of magic bullets that instantly overwhelmed him. The villain was stunned by the insane amount of mana a mere student possessed. He let the villain know this wasn't his first rodeo before preparing the finishing blow. Just before he pulled the trigger, Jin used his last ounce of strength to lunge at Hee-jung, trying to drag her down with him, but it wasn't enough to throw off our hero's aim. He fired a perfect shot, successfully eliminating the enemy. The system congratulated him for defeating the enemy, increasing his karma points, and granting him the title of Savior. Looking over, he was relieved to see Hee-jung was still alive. Though her awakening was sudden, he knew the demons would now relentlessly target the academy. But he had faith that both Hee-jung and So-jun would grow stronger through this adversity. In the hospital, Ara scrolled through news articles hailing Seo-jun, herself, and the others as heroes who protected the academy during the demon attack. A wave of inadequacy washed over her. She was being called a hero when she felt like she hadn't done a single useful thing. Her friend reassured her she did great, but Ara just told her to get back in her own hospital bed. The friend shot back that Ara had saved her from a demon's attack, right before fainting like a total clown. The academy was giving them plenty of time to recover since the exams were over. Then, Ara asked her about the fight with the demon. She wondered why Hee-jung didn't just run, since it wasn't like they were close enough to risk their lives for each other. Hee-jung timidly replied that anyone in her position would have done the exact same thing. She thought back to a kind person who had once saved her when she had no one else. So, she wanted to become that kind of person for someone else too. That resolve gave her the strength to face the demon head-on. She told Ara There's no shame in asking for help when you're in danger. Ara's mood instantly soured at the word help, as if it were an insult. Her mind flashed back to the past, to the day her home was consumed by flames. Her parents, trapped beneath the rubble, had begged someone to get her out of there. The little girl couldn't stand being dragged away from them, forced to watch helplessly as they died with looks of agony on their faces. Ara repeated that she didn't need anyone's help, but Hee-jung insisted she should at least thank their rescuer, Sun Woo. Neither of them would be here if he hadn't saved them in time. Ara was stunned by this, and asked her what she meant. So, Hee-jung told the guy himself to explain the story. Our boy then stepped through the curtain with an awkward hello. He said he was just dropping by because he had something for her today. More specifically, he brought her share of the reward money for killing the demon. Ara was speechless, completely confused as to why he would split it with her. She argued that he was the one who actually killed the demon. He acknowledged that, but pointed out that the demon was already falling apart thanks to her attacks. Even though he just delivered the finishing blow, Ara was adamant about not taking the money out of principle. She told him flatly to just keep it, offer her a cut if she felt that generous. But before she can leave, a deep crimson blush creeps up her neck as she quietly thanks him for protecting her. He feels totally stuck, thinking his whole strategy to improve their relationship was way too aggressive. But the system proves him dead wrong, flashing a notification that her affection score has spiked and awarding him bonus points. Hee-jung then reassures him, explaining that her friend is just naturally shy and has a ton of pride. With that point haul, he finally hits the 20,000 point mark needed to purchase a spatial bag. Out in the hallway, Ara thinks Sun Yu is a complete liar for saying the demon had attacked her. She remembers vividly that the creature wasn't even rampaging until he showed up. It's undeniable. He single-handedly annihilated that demon. Since combat clearly isn't his specialty, the only word she can use to describe what he pulled off during the exam is genius. Haesung's insane progress is also a direct result of his coaching. She wonders why he'd ever choose to just blend in when he's packing that kind of talent. In her mind, the only logical reason for laying so low is if his family was also taken by those people. Back in the present, he asks Hee-jung if she's still planning to reveal her powers, like they had promised earlier. The girl agrees that telling everyone she awakened during the battle with the demon would probably attract a lot of unwanted attention. She's just pumped to get strong enough to slay demons herself one day. Sun Yu matches her excitement, but internally, he's thrilled that Hee-jung awakened a full month ahead of schedule. This early start will let him level up her combat skills, transforming her into a huge asset against the Demon King. Fired up, he promises to create an incredible training schedule just for her and tells her to feel free to ask for anything. Hee-jung shyly tugs on his sleeve, mentioning she'd heard he came running to find her the moment the barrier was lifted. With all the concern he's shown her, she hesitantly asks if the reason is what she thinks it is. Our boy immediately takes her hand and confidently confirms that there is absolutely nothing like that going on between them. He helped her during the midterm exam because he saw her potential, and the explosion during the demon fight made him rush over without a second thought. Hearing that, a strange wave of relief washes over Hee-jung. He teases her, asking if she was expecting a different reason. This only makes her blush even more furiously. The girl quickly tries to play it off, saying, "It was just a joke." Our main character can't believe this innocent girl fell for him so quickly, but he knows she belongs to the main cast, not an NPC like him. The girl looks a little disappointed for a fleeting moment. Regardless, she hands him a thick envelope full of cash, eager to use his tutoring services. Receiving that massive payment, his motivation goes through the roof, and he vows to forge her into a true killing machine. He tells her they'll start first thing tomorrow morning, but his jaw suddenly drops when a notification for a 15 million won transfer flashes across his phone screen. Before long, classes resume as normal. This time, our hero gets promoted to the special talent class. For the first time ever, he's going to be learning, alongside all the heavy hitters. Now, he can control the future better than ever before. However, the moment he sits down, some blonde-haired punk calls him a sewer rat that crawled out of the gutter. He's disgusted that a loser who just stole a dying demon is even allowed to sit near his holy presence. Our guy calmly replies that he fulfilled the teacher's promotion conditions, fair and square. The blonde then threatens to personally drag him out of the classroom if he doesn't leave peacefully. Just then, Sojun calls out to Iwan, and another student joins in. Iwan argues that he's dragging down the class average, but Seojun remembers his exact score. Ara points out that his overall rank is actually higher than Iwan's, so theoretically, he's the dead weight pulling down the average. That comment really gets under the blonde idiot's skin. He snaps and criticizes her for paying way too much attention to this loser. Then he throws a cheap, unexpected punch, but our guy snatches his fist mid-air and squeezes so hard he nearly breaks the bones. He's so enraged that his hand begins to radiate intense heat. Ethereal flames flicker to life around his knuckles just before things can escalate any further. The other guy gets smacked across the head and kicked straight down the stairs. He's left sprawled out, right where he belongs, in front of the whole class. As it turns out, the Special Task Force regularly visits the Special Talent class for certain events. Agent Hyunsu tells him that he was thoroughly impressed watching his genius-level performance during the midterm exam. Okay, maybe that intro was a little too extra, Hyunsu thought to himself, second-guessing his own aggressive greeting. This man was completely floored when his superiors dropped the bombshell assignment. Babysit this specific class because a demon is hiding somewhere in the academy. His one and only objective for this mission, to smoke out the demonic mole embedded in the school. Wasting no time, the agent steps up and gives the class a proper introduction. The students, absolutely buzzing with excitement, immediately started asking if they were going to hunt real demons alongside the Special Task Force. Instructor Hyunsu instantly shot that idea down, making it crystal clear that a bunch of rookies would never be thrown directly into a live battlefield. That's precisely why they were starting with a monster-infested zone sweep, under his direct and constant supervision. Given the extreme danger of this training exercise, he demanded they immediately call out anything that felt even slightly off or suspicious. This place was just a controlled training area for the Special Forces, built on the site of a former dungeon, but they had supposedly cleared it out ages ago and had the entire area rigged with magical surveillance cameras. Since the students in this elite class enjoyed way more privileges than anyone else, he was dead certain the little rat was hiding among them. But our main character was already playing 4D chess, predicting the task force's every move. He also knew about the mole, and this one was dangerously clever, and it would almost certainly lay low for the entire duration. The only thing on his mind right now was making sure Sojun found the S-rank treasure stashed in the dungeon's secret room. He also had to protect So-eun, because this time, she was supposed to be his partner. Right on cue, the instructor announced everyone would be splitting up into pairs of 2. Our hero intended to stick to the original script as closely as possible, but then, a thought struck him. His mere presence in this lottery could completely throw off the original pairings. And just like that, our boy ends up stealing Seo-eun's partner. The poor girl looked totally confused, wondering why he seemed so disappointed. I mean, he just lucked out with the most capable partner in the room. Meanwhile, every other guy in class was absolutely fuming because none of them got to team up with their queen. Musing to herself, the girl figured it would make sense if a living legend like Sojun considered her a liability, but she was absolutely stunned that this senior, who looked average in every single way, was unhappy with the pairing. Regardless, the mission had begun. Seo-eun silently trailed behind her senior, not saying much. She was low-key relieved that he wasn't trying to act all buddy-buddy with her. She was still incredibly suspicious of how a guy who used to be a total bottom feeder suddenly climbed his way into the special talent class. His abrupt glow-up was instinctively setting off all her internal alarms. The system pinged, announcing that her curiosity about him was rising and rewarding him with a few bonus points he couldn't care less about. He could literally feel her gaze drilling a hole in the back of his neck. He decided to shatter the tense silence. He suggested they go investigate something he spotted in the distance. The sharp-witted girl flashed a smile, as if she were totally delighted to follow her senior's lead. But on the inside, she was already preparing to dismantle whatever dark conspiracy she imagined he was plotting. Her hyper-intense energy actually caught him a little off guard. Her suspicious expression made it obvious she was running some wild theories through her head. He then remembered how desperately she wanted to team up with Sojun, because partnering with him would have given her reputation a massive boost. Realizing this, a light bulb went off in his head. He decided to use this as an excuse to push her back towards Sojun, just like in the original timeline. The girl started making small talk, mentioning how impressive it was for a former loser to make it into the special class in just 1 semester. Then her entire vibe shifted, and she spoke in a cool, detached tone. She warned that staying in the special class could be dangerous for him, especially if he made enemies with the wrong people. You see, Choi So-eun was blessed with looks, natural talent, and basically the starter pack for a certified genius. But the real secret lurking behind that effortless perfection was the absurdly high standards her family relentlessly imposed on her. That pressure had forged her into a terrifying manipulator who acted sweet to everyone but only kept useful people within her circle. She knew exactly what it took to survive in high society. Anyway, Sunwoo played dumb and asked her what she meant by enemies. The girl bluntly explained that he was too dense to realize there were other people who were not happy with his presence in the class, besides Igwon, that is. But he shot back confidently that none of that mattered to him in the slightest. The only way he could fulfill his life's purpose was to remain in this special class. Hearing this, Seo-eun was reminded of her own father, telling her to just be quiet and follow the path he had already paved for her. She felt a strange pang of sadness thinking about things like her own ambitions and life purpose. All of a sudden, she understood why the teachers seemed to like this guy so much. It only made her more curious about what his real goal in life was. At that very moment, he felt a razor-sharp killing intent blasting towards them from behind. He instantly grabbed her hand, yanking her close and shielding her from a blazing attack. The attacker was none other than that brain-dead blonde dude, Bucky 1. He screamed that this was his one and only chance to leave the class. "You want to live to see tomorrow?" Our hero taunts, daring the guy to do something if he refuses. Absolutely livid, Iwan unleashes a hailstorm of missiles on the two of them, like a complete maniac. Meanwhile, Iazjin from the surveillance team keeps a close watch on all the students. Staring through multiple magical feeds, the support mage wonders aloud if there's actually a demon hiding among these kids. She radios Hyunsu, telling him it's nothing out of the ordinary, just students running standard practice drills with their monsters. But Hyunsu remains convinced a demon would try contacting its superiors if let outside, urging her to stay focused on anyone who tries to leave the training area. Right then, she spots some bizarre activity on one of the feeds. 3 students are brawling as if it's a genuine deathmatch on a battlefield. He had to admit, Iwan's firing speed was ridiculously fast, and for a total scrub, he had some surprisingly decent skills. For the sake of his plan, he commands Seo-eun to get clear of the danger zone. But instead, she just aggravates the blonde-haired fool even more by shredding his fragile ego. She screams that his crippling inferiority complex, first towards Seol-jun and now towards Sun-woo, is just pathetic. The blonde completely loses his cool. Seeing that even his own queen is siding with Sun-woo instead of him, he summons furious tornadoes of fire that blow away the nearby surveillance magic. Hyunsu is immediately ready to move out. He vowed that no student would get seriously hurt under his supervision. Yejin yells at him that mobilizing now could blow their entire covert operation to find the mole, so he tells her to keep him posted if she sees anything else, silently hoping the situation doesn't spiral out of control. He's particularly worried because Iwan has a deep-seated grudge against Sun-woo, and the young lady from one of the 5 great mage families is also involved. Back in the fight, Iwan is going all out, attacking them both with zero hesitation. Seol-eun struggles to erect a shield to block his barrage. Just as the shield is about to shatter, she hears our hero reminding her that he told her to get behind him and to let him handle the threat. In his past life, he just stood by and quietly watched Iwan's future crimes unfold from the sidelines. He never intervened because he was just an NPC, a nobody who didn't matter at all. But now he knows this guy is just useless trash, contributing absolutely nothing to the future. So, without an ounce of mercy, he unleashes one of his most powerful spells in response. Iwan is frozen solid by the overwhelming pressure of his magic. Sun-woo offers him zero mercy. If Iwan had only come after him, that would be one thing, but this idiot crossed the line the second he dragged the girl into his little temper tantrum. He slams the guy flat on the ground, points his weapon at him, and calmly asks for one good reason he should be allowed to walk away from this alive. The blonde immediately starts groveling on the floor, admitting he's a complete and utter moron. He swears he'll never mess with the big boss again. As he's kneeling and begging for forgiveness, our hero is tempted to just blast him into a million pieces right there. But his companion suggests he shouldn't waste precious mana on this kind of garbage. So he switches gears, grabbing Iwan by the hair. He threatens the clown, telling him to run as far as he possibly can, because the next time they meet, he won't hesitate to end him on the spot. The fool even asks if they can keep their battle a secret. This really ticks him off. He tells him to get lost, and Iwan bolts out of there for his life, not daring to even glance back. He also doesn't forget to remind him to keep his end of the bargain. Back in the monitoring room, Yejin reports to Hyunsu that the student from the fight suddenly took off running, but now he's covered in injuries, from head to toe. Back on the training field, Eugene is having the absolute worst day of his life. First, he had to deal with our main character, and now he's being hunted by an agent from a secret force. Our hero just hopes their little scuffle didn't mess with the timeline too much. At that moment, he feels the warm fingers of So-hyun. Lightly touching the wound on his neck, the girl begins to tease him with a faint smile. She says it's pretty impressive that a rank 20 student like him just defeated the 5th-ranked student in the class. This obviously means the ranking system is seriously flawed. Flustered, he tries to change the subject, saying it's a shame she had to be grouped with him instead of Sojun, but she coolly replies that she's glad he was the one protecting her back there. Right on cue, a system notification pops up, saying her affinity for him is rising again. Suddenly, she confesses that, at the beginning of the semester, she used to think he was a really annoying person. Back then, he just looked like an arrogant guy who was desperate for attention. However, her opinion changed after she witnessed his true colors today. He curiously asks what he looks like now, and she simply says that he's actually pretty funny. With that said, She suggests they keep moving since he still needs to prove his skills so that other people will finally back off. Mess with him like she did with Eugene. Just then, a colossal cobra monster erupts from the ground, paralyzing her with sheer terror. He calmly prepares to strike without even flinching, but before he can make a move, a razor-sharp beam of light magic zips past and slams into the monster's neck. A smirk forms on his face, knowing his target has arrived right on schedule. The true hero of the story finally joins the party. He says he's been patrolling the area to protect the other students and, so far, hasn't encountered anything seriously dangerous. He even cracks a wry smile, admitting he was hoping the so-called danger zone would have something a little more, well, dangerous. Seol-hyun wastes zero time shooting her shot, laying on the charm while trying to recruit him into her family's guild. Our boy feels a wave of relief seeing the main characters finally linking up like this. All that's left is to make sure they discover the dungeon's hidden stage. Turns out, he had been carefully navigating the forest the entire time, orchestrating the perfect setup for them to run into the hero. Faking his own surprise, he suddenly points to a faint blue glow in the distance and tells them to look. After getting them both hooked on the mystery of the cave, he suggests they all head inside to check out what's going on. The dungeon's been cleared, and they soon uncover the hidden stage. This place is way tougher than they anticipated, but the grind is absolutely worth it, because the rewards are insane. In the original timeline, the hero and his partner conquered the hidden stage with some next-level teamwork. That event, combined with his S-class weapon, caused his fame to skyrocket nationwide. But what was even more valuable was that the rich girl got some serious character development out of it. After all his careful maneuvering to bring them together, Sunwoo is confident their partnership will finally blossom. He grins and hypes himself up, ready for whatever comes next. But the hero immediately shoots down his suggestion, saying they have to report this. Something this risky needs to be reported to the task force first. He scrambles, trying to stop Seojun. He pleads with him to change his mind. At the same time, the girl hears a faint voice calling to her from beneath the water. Her curiosity gets the better of her, and she touches the strange ripple, completely unaware that she's stepping right into a massive trap. Seojun instantly feels that something is seriously wrong. The monster reveals itself to be a phantom sorceress. It uses its trap to mesmerize the girl, leaving her completely defenseless. Before the two guys can even react, the witch is gone. She vanishes with her in a puff of smoke. He's floored to see the monster strike at them first. This obviously means the timeline has shifted once again. After watching it retreat deeper into the dungeon, they know there's only one option left. He tells Sojun to follow his lead, immediately. Even though the by-the-book student wants to wait for the task force before diving into such a reckless situation, our hero firmly insists that if they wait, it's going to be too late. The creature that captured her will drain its victim's mana until they're nothing more than an empty husk. Realizing there's seriously no time to waste, Sojun finally agrees and charges in with him. Meanwhile, outside the forest, Hyunsu is busy grilling Aigun about why he attacked a fellow student. Aigun stubbornly maintains he did nothing suspicious, so the cold-hearted agent keeps pressing him. Why did he run away like that? The blonde remembers he swore not to say a word about what happened. Because of that, he stays completely silent. Hyunsu, fed up with waiting for a confession, places E1 under temporary arrest. He then coolly informs Yasin that the prime suspect is in custody, but she replies that a critical emergency is unfolding. 3 of their students just walked into an inactive dungeon zone on their own. He casually tells her to relax since it's just a harmless, empty cave for now. But alarm bells start screaming in his head when she reveals that signs of a hidden stage were confirmed just a few minutes ago. As they push deeper into the dungeon, Seojun feels the air get colder and colder with every single step. He realizes he won't be able to take it for much longer. Fortunately, his ultimate wingman calmly pulls out a thick fur coat. Turns out, he came prepared by stashing a few coats inside his spatial pocket. It provides cold resistance and a steady warming effect. When Sojun asks how he managed to drop millions on that bag, he simply says his stock portfolio has been on fire lately. Before long, they spot the girl's silhouette up ahead. She's desperately screaming for help. Sojun immediately rushes in to save her without a second thought, but is shocked when our guy suddenly launches an attack. He unleashes a massive blow right at her. The girl effortlessly parries the attack and coolly compliments his sharp intuition. It seems the sorceress can directly control Seol-hyun's body like a marionette. Sunwoo quickly breaks down the situation for Sojun. He suggests they have to defeat the witch herself if they want to rescue her safely. The sorceress is reveling in her powerful ice magic, declaring she will drain. With the girl dealt with, the two of them focused up. Fortunately, Sohyun's own light magic was the ultimate kryptonite for an undead creature like the witch. The only problem? She was using So-hyun's body as a meat shield, forcing them to pull their punches so they wouldn't accidentally hurt her. The hero managed to repel her with his flawless swordsmanship. However, the witch could clearly see he wasn't going all out, terrified of landing a stray hit on the girl. He was lost in thought, silently analyzing the witch's attack patterns, and she exploited that briefest of moments. She launched a surprise attack, forcing him to take cover behind a thick wall of ice. This turned out to be a fatal error. Now, he was completely boxed in with no escape route. The witch rained down a hail of razor-sharp ice from above. She was spamming attacks like she had limitless mana to burn, but he still managed to dodge them all. When Sojun asked if he even had a game plan, he calmly replied that they first had to locate the witch's true body. He needed to find it, even with the entire battlefield now blanketed in dense layers of ice and snow. Seojun had no idea what to do next. He remembered completely obliterating the entire area in the previous timeline, but for now, he was putting his complete trust in the hero to see this through. Meanwhile, on the outside, Aigun finally confessed that this whole mess was just a schoolyard scuffle, all because his fragile ego had been shattered. Hyunsu instantly realized he had acted way too hastily with his earlier call. He then pressed him on whether the students who entered the dungeon were truly uninvolved. The blonde kid tearfully denied everything. One of the teachers ripped into the agent, reminding him that he'd promised the students would be kept safe. The agent tried to explain they were scrambling to crack the dungeon open from the outside as fast as they could. Otherwise, the kid's survival was basically left to a coin toss. Before long, all the students and teachers were gathered outside the dungeon, reeling from the shocking news. Ara was visibly frustrated. She still had so many questions for the guy, who had just saved her skin. Cut back to inside the dungeon. Our guy repeated that he genuinely believed in Seojun's power. He told Seojun to unleash everything, without a shred of hesitation, while he ran interference with the witch. The monster immediately sensed a strange shift in the flow of mana all around them. She attempted to blindside them with a sneak attack from behind. Sunwoo screamed at Seojun to stop sandbagging and unleash his real power, telling him not to hold a single thing back. The hero recalled that the only time he'd ever gone all out was during the last demon invasion. He was always afraid that his friends might feel left behind if they ever witnessed his true, overwhelming strength. He was impressed that his friend had seen through him so effortlessly. As Sojun declared he was finally taking the gloves off, the witch looked amused and casually taunted him. "Let's see you try." His blade was suddenly cloaked in a powerful, deep crimson aura. The witch's eyes practically bulged from their sockets. At the sight of the colossal energy coalescing around his weapon, Sunwoo roared for him to just blow away the entire dungeon if he had to. Hearing this, the witch flew into a panic, trying to protect her true form as she desperately bailed out of the girl's body. Sunwoo immediately sniped her midair, making her absolutely furious. That tiny opening was all the window Seojun needed. He cleaved the undead harpy in two, with his overwhelming light magic in one swift, clean motion. On the outside, the support teacher had only managed to take down 2% of the barrier at the entrance. She explained with regret that the analysis was completely stalled, no matter how many more mages they called in. Hyunsu quietly braced himself for the fallout from his superiors. Without a word of protest, he reported to his captain that he had carelessly allowed Seojun to enter a dangerous B-rank hidden stage of the dungeon. To his shock, the man on the other end wasn't the least bit worried. He calmly told him to just hang tight because the kid would get himself out. Completely fine. While Hyunsu was still processing what that meant, the entrance suddenly erupted in a blinding flash of golden light. The students wondered if some boss monster was about to burst through, but Ara knew all too well who that radiant light magic belonged to. Back inside, Sojun watched as his sword disintegrated, unable to withstand the immense output of mana. Just then, he spotted a sword sticking out of the ground in the distance. Sunwoo told him to just take it, since he had done most of the heavy lifting anyway, and so, the hero strode forward and pulled the legendary sword from the earth. He was floored by Sunwoo's generosity, just handing over what was undoubtedly an S-rank sword. Our protagonist also scored a system reward for co-oping the boss with the main character. He was far more worried about Seohoon, however, as her condition looked pretty grim. The witch. That last brutal showdown had completely squeezed every last drop of mana from her body. The hero circles back after scooping up all the loot. With gear scattered all over the dungeon floor, Sojun glances over at our boy, asking what the game plan is to help her. Turns out, he's holding the heart of an ice spirit, a legendary item that'll not only fully recharge her mana, but will also permanently juice up her ice abilities. The effect is insane. Moments later, her eyes flutter open. She gets a little flustered, wondering why these two dudes are just staring her down. Her reaction gets a wide grin out of both guys, who are genuinely stoked to see her bounce back so fast. She's confused, asking where the heck she is, so he explains they're deep inside a dungeon because she got snatched by the final boss. Our main character's wingman chimes in, hyping up how Sojun dived in headfirst to take the boss down and save her. No questions asked. She's absolutely floored. A student her own age actually solo cleared a secret dungeon? No way. Before long, the exit portal materializes, looking pretty epic to Seo-eun. But just as they're about to make their grand exit, our MC asks them to hold up. He claims he's totally immobilized from severe mana exhaustion. Of course, this is all part of his master plan, to conveniently pass out right after Seo-eun was back on her feet. This way, all the glory, all the attention, would shine directly on them. Meanwhile, he could fade back into the shadows and continue pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Later on, that legendary Blue Moon sword Seo-eun, snagged from the dungeon, gets appraised, and it's packing 2 S-rank attributes. The news of his heroic victory explodes, spreading like wildfire through the academy and beyond. Suddenly, every major player on the world stage has their eyes locked on this rising star. On the flip side, a deep dive investigation finally brings all of Iron's dirty deeds to light. That scumbag finally gets hit with some major karma for all the shady crap he's been pulling for years. Sunwoo is thrilled to see justice finally served, and despite all the chaos he's caused, the main timeline is still holding steady. And best of all, the bond between Seo-eun and her hero is probably going to be forged stronger than steel. Speak of the devil, the girl herself pops up and casually asks what's on his mind. She gets this playful look and says she's super grateful after Sojun spilled all the details. He blurts out, asking what she means by that. With a slight blush, she reveals she knows it was his idea to enter the dungeon in the first place, and that he went all out against the boss to save her life. He immediately tries to downplay it, insisting he barely did anything, and that her real savior was Sojun. He gets weirdly passionate all of a sudden. He goes into overdrive trying to convince her that taking down the boss would have been totally impossible without the actual hero there, but she just gives him this quiet smile. She's not buying his little act for a second. She clearly remembers the sheer panic in his eyes during the fight. Still, she lets it slide and just waves him goodbye for now. And boom, the system chimes in, rewarding him with more points, because her affection level for him just hit level 2. He realizes, dang it, he's accidentally meddled with the main character's relationships again. He silently swears to himself that he'll try way harder to stay under the radar during the next major story arc. Cut to the school gym, where our boy strolls in looking proud as hell, with a massive grin plastered on his face. And why wouldn't he be? He just raked in a boatload of points thanks to Sojun's popularity blowing up. Using those points, he bought a seriously powerful new trait. It's called the Secret of Evolution. This bad boy lets him acquire special traits after meeting specific, hidden conditions. In simple terms, it means he can adapt to literally any environment, as long as he can survive the process without kicking the bucket. Right on cue, the hero himself spots him and casually asks what he's doing lurking around the gym. Our MC fires back that he's trying to get absolutely jacked, then asks how things have been on his end. The Academy's golden boy plays it cool, acting like everything's business as usual, but his buddy just points to the massive crowd of fanboys, who are meticulously studying his every single move, trying to copy his form. Meanwhile, Ara is pushing her own training into overdrive, absolutely refusing to be left behind in the hero's shadow. The conversation then shifts to something weird. The gym teacher is a no-show today, which is wild because that dude practically lives in here, unless he's dragged away for a class or a meeting. Another student spills the tea, explaining he got pulled for guard duty. Apparently, a completely desiccated corpse, drained of every last drop of blood, was discovered somewhere on campus. That news sends a genuine chill down Sojun's spine. This has all the markings of a demon's handiwork, but the other student just starts gassing him up, saying there's nothing to freak out about since they've got him here to save the academy all over again. And while that dude is cracking jokes, totally oblivious, our actual protagonist is feeling a deep sense of dread. A demon could strike at any moment, because one is still lurking somewhere on this campus, watching their every move. Park Minia glides in, gently offering a towel to the academy's star player, and instantly, all the guys are fawning over her like total simps. Seo-jun calmly thanks her for the thoughtful gesture, and the girl of everyone's dreams flashes a brilliant smile, wishing him continued success. But that entire persona? It's just a mask for the rest of the world. In reality, she's the blood-sucking demon who stalks the academy grounds at night, and later that evening, she gets a visit from John He. Right after draining her latest victim, she wonders why her master decided to drop in so suddenly. He casually claims he was just in the neighborhood and decided to check up on her. He says he was worried after hearing her father was recently killed. The demon lord then asks about her daily life and how her mission is progressing. She vents her frustration, explaining that getting close to Hyunsu is nearly impossible, and Haryan has also forbidden her from targeting Jinwoo. She's absolutely fuming, forced to just watch the snitches who reported her father walk free while she can't do a thing. Seething, she makes it crystal clear she is not okay. The demon lord calmly informs her that the little rat, Seo-jun, is likely the child from the prophecy, especially when you consider his recent, insane achievements. However, his suspicions that the kid is the chosen one were just 100% confirmed. She reports that the Grand Barrier suddenly shattered because of the kid's demon-slaying ability. Eagerly, she asks if this means she finally gets the green light to eliminate this threat herself. Her boss questions if she honestly believes she can take down that prodigy. She saw the kid's power up close and personal. She fires back that it's not a question of whether she can or can't. She's going to do it, no matter the cost. Just then, a demon named Sung Jin phases into existence, praising her for having such an iron will at her young age. John. He immediately bows his head to Lord Sung Jin without a second's hesitation. The man announces he wanted to meet his subordinate in person, before officially recruiting her. With that, he grants the girl a taste of his power to help her destroy the prophesied child. In exchange, he forces her to join his demonic organization, known as the King's Command. The scene then cuts to a chaos dungeon, where Hye-jung is busy grinding mobs. As part of her intense training montage, the monsters are so terrified of her magic that they're scrambling to get away, as fast as their stubby little legs can carry them. Our hero notes that her mana control is steadily improving, so now, she should focus on maintaining her concentration during combat. She's secretly ecstatic that he asked her to hang out, and even brought her to a dungeon nobody else knows about. It's a spot he stumbled upon in the previous timeline. Since the area is swarming with demons, it's basically the perfect training ground to seriously build up her willpower. He curiously asks what she usually thinks about when she channels her power. The innocent girl replies that she just thinks really hard about wanting to protect and save the people of this world. That kind of willpower is exactly what amplifies the demon-slaying effects in a chosen one's magic. But she also surprises him by admitting that the second biggest reason she trains is to get promoted to the special class. Just like him, he assures her she'll get there in no time if she keeps grinding hard in this dungeon. Hye-jung absolutely lights up at this, because it means they'll get to spend more private time together. In places like this, it feels less like training and more like a date to her. She's already leaped from rank 80 to rank 50 in just a few short months. He's positive she'll make it into the special class by next year. It's all part of his master plan. At that moment, he also unlocks night vision, thanks to a newly activated evolution trait. The next step in his plan is to deal with the demon mole hiding in their class, Minya. In the original timeline, she eventually attacks Seo-jun to get revenge for her father. But that's what's tripping him up. The ones who took her down in the original timeline were him and Agent Hyunsu. Something feels way off, and he figures he needs to make a move before things get messy. A few days later, Minya approaches him out of the blue, when he's least expecting it. He can't help but wonder if she was deliberately stalking him. The upperclassman shyly says she heard he wanted to talk to her. He tells her it's something really important. While she slowly reaches into her jacket pocket, he completely shocks her by whipping out his device and confessing to her with zero warning. This move is phase 1 of his elaborate plan to get her alone. A system notification pops up, confirming she was utterly disgusted by his confession. He even earned bonus points for experiencing his first ever rejection. She gave him a hard pass, claiming they just didn't vibe, and that she'd rather keep things on a senior-junior level. Then she stormed off, so salty she was literally plotting to unalive him, because as if she'd ever get with some filthy human. Her words hit him right in the feels, making him second-guess his looks for a hot second. But whatever, the whole elaborate act was just to get the attention of Zoom Zoom, who was low-key spying on him from down the street. His buddy offered his condolences, man to man, totally understanding the magnetic pull of an older woman. Then, Sun Woo casually brought up the magic theory project, asking if he'd even started. As expected, the guy instantly spiraled into depression. He only aced the practical stuff. When it came to magic theory and other complicated subjects, his caveman brain just couldn't compute. Right on cue, Sun Woo slid in with an offer. He could copy his homework in exchange for one tiny favor. He politely requested access to the school's announcement board. The next morning in the cafeteria, word about him was spreading like wildfire. All the students were shook. He was usually a total ghost, so nobody could believe he actually used the board. Everything was unfolding perfectly. In just one night, he'd captured the attention of almost 250 people. Turns out, he used that favor to post a stone-cold warning, forbidding any guy from even thinking about confessing to his queen, Minya. He had the audacity to declare his love for her, claiming she belonged to him and him alone. Even the teachers were stunned, wondering if this was how the kids confessed their love these days. Seo-hyun looked genuinely entertained by this over-the-top public display, while Hye-jung complained to Ara that she never pegged Sun Woo as a guy who was into older women. Ara was dead sure it was all a prank, but Hye-jung was still a little worried for the guy. Sitting nearby, Yang-jung was sweating bullets as he listened to them dissect the very post that Seo-jung had helped him upload. The Academy's resident genius was cackling at the absolute absurdity of the situation. Our hero thanked the boys for their support, while Ian Jun just awkwardly cheered him on in this massive one-sided crush. Before long, the moment he had been waiting for arrived. Minya and her friend strode into the cafeteria, and, well, Let's just say she was not looking pleased. Now that he'd thrown her directly into the spotlight, it would be a lot harder for her to hunt her prey in the shadows or attack Sojun. Besides, his reputation at the academy was already in the gutter, so he had absolutely nothing to lose with this stunt. He twisted the knife even further by shooting her a wink in front of the entire student body. Minia's friend remarked that this was the price she paid for being gorgeous and kind to the campus weirdos. Her blood began to boil. Carrying out her mission to take down Sojun was now impossible with all this heat on her. To pour salt on the wound, Sunwoo gave her a cheerful little goodbye wave, practically taunting her. With way too many eyes fixed on the so-called lovebirds, she chose to just dip without another word. With that drama sorted, our hero quietly began preparing for the next major event, where Seojun was set to be the main attraction all over again. Late that night, the staff began ushering the remaining visitors out of the art museum. It was closing time. Guards started their patrol routes while the ancient artifact known as the Soul Vessel was secured under lock and key. You see, this powerful relic, once used to imprison countless souls, had fallen into the clutches of a terrorist group named Zone some 13 years prior. It was one of the greatest tragedies of the century, until the president of the Magic Association finally dismantled the group, personally taking down its leader. For his heroic deeds, he was gifted the Soul Vessel. Since that day, it has been kept safely tucked away inside the Museum of Fine Arts and Antiquities. Just as the manager was logging that the artifact was secure, a woman glided up behind him without making a single sound. He politely pointed her toward the exit, but she ignored him, her gaze locked on the Soul Vessel. She remarked that it was far too powerful to be left collecting dust in some pathetic museum. So, the man explained that it was being managed by the most capable people in the world. She coldly retorted that the only person truly qualified was the man President Jin Chun had already killed. The man furiously yelled that the association seized it from filthy criminals to serve the greater good. She sparked her lightning magic in annoyance, insisting it was destined for a far grander purpose. The panicked man screamed for security, but her massive accomplice, Scar, had already dealt with the pathetic jesters guarding the exterior. The man was frozen in shock. All of those guards were A-rank professionals, and one had even managed to activate his ability. Alarms shrieked just before he collapsed. That's when a woman wielding a glowing, crimson staff shattered the artifact's glass case with a single, contemptuous swing. She radiated pure sass, demanding to know when the plan pivoted from simply threatening the guy in charge to annihilating the entire security detail. When a guard demanded to know who they were, they calmly declared that their leader's will would live on, even in death. The woman from the Zon organization looked personally offended when he called her a filthy criminal, so she flash-fried him with enough electricity to shatter every last window in the museum. In no time, every student at the academy was glued to their screens, watching the breaking news of the Zon organization's surprise terrorist attack. Security cameras caught the woman's face, and the puppet master pulling the strings from above was someone named Boss Kiara. The second she saw that blurry face on the screen, her own face drained of all color. Hee-jung asked if she was okay, but she just mumbled that she felt sick and had to leave early. Sunwoo, however, knew the chilling truth. This was only the prelude to their coming collision with the Zon organization. The scene cuts to the Zon hideout, where their leader is watching her own face plastered all over the news. Another member, a sharply dressed man named Jin, looked seriously annoyed that they hit the museum so publicly, completely derailing their original plan. Natasha just casually joked that some employee insulted their lord and savior, so obviously, he had to be punished. Suddenly, a man named Scar roared that the attack was way too quiet for his taste. He argued they should have leveled the museum and all the surrounding buildings to make a real statement of their power. Jin told the huge guy to chill, reminding him that Zon wasn't just a crew of reckless thugs anymore. Natasha added that the Special Forces Dawn Sword Squad was still hot on their trail, which is why their leader suggested they should probably lay low for a while. She proposed they head to South Korea for a little vacation. Scar and Natasha were immediately down for it, hyped about all the powerful fighters in Korea they could test their skills against. But Jin's face turned grim, terrified they might run into Chairman Jin Chun again. The leader reminded him that the most dangerous place is often the safest. Plus, she had someone very special she wanted to meet. After all, Sun Woo was a massively important target for their organization. With that, she ordered Jin to cook up some fake passports and documents, and to let their contact in Korea, Eun Song, know they were on their way. Meanwhile, at a quiet restaurant in Korea, our boy is operating, under his old identity, Jin Woo, to keep a low profile. He figures he's in the clear now that old man Haryong's curiosity about him has finally died down. His plan is to get way stronger before the inevitable showdown with Zon. Stepping inside, he spots Han Segyeon waiting anxiously at a table. Her entire face lights up the moment she sees him after so long, and she slides over a package with the potions and gear he asked for. While checking out a pair of shoes, he's stunned to see they have two distinct properties, making them ridiculously, obscenely expensive. But the girl just says she could only choose the absolute best, since it was a personal gift from her to him. Then, their table was flooded with the most luxurious, 5-star dishes in the entire region. She insisted that it was her duty to make sure her clients were never disappointed. Our hero stared at the juicy cutlet, remembering its insanely delicious flavor, the same flavor that literally made Seo Jun pass out in the original timeline. He cautiously took his first bite. Instantly, an explosion of countless, rich flavors overwhelmed his senses, making him practically melt in absolute bliss. The girl watched his genuine reaction to her gift with a quiet, satisfied smile. He told her that he would definitely repay her for this VIP treatment one day. She insisted he shouldn't worry about paying her back, because their relationship was worth far more than money. So, our hero casually asks if she'd be interested in some intel about the recent terrorist threat aimed at her company's building. He leaves her speechless yet again with his uncanny ability to know everything in advance. She opens up about how stressed she's been with all the Zon copycats causing chaos everywhere, not to mention the constant power struggle with her brother over who will take control of the company. Fortunately, Sun Woo already knew the person behind the recent threat wasn't Zon at all. The real culprit was Jo Sung-hoon, some NPC alchemist who was just using Zon's reputation to extort money from Saegyeon's company. He told her to just run a financial check on the guy. The security team is dead set on hunting down whoever's colluding with that alchemist. A little later, the two of them are strolling through a quiet area, and Saegyeon is completely intrigued by this mysterious guy. She can't figure out how he always has the exact intel she needs, and she once again passionately pitches him a job at her company. She's convinced he's the secret weapon she needs to finally crush her brother, promising to hook him up with a life of luxury he's only ever dreamed of. Our hero, however, says he has no use for money. His one and only desire is to help a friend. She has to admit, it would have been pretty lame if he'd just folded for something as basic as cash. So she vows that next time, she'll come back with an offer so irresistible he won't be able to refuse. Honestly, he desperately wants to take the deal, but accepting it would mean abandoning his mission to support Seljun. Later, he tries on a new pair of boots that grant him the ability to walk on air for 5 seconds straight. He casually puts them to the test, taking an invisible stroll across the gap to the rooftop of the adjacent building. The next day in law class, the trainees let out a collective groan when the professor announces yet another assignment due in the next 7 days. Yong-hyun practically begs the professor for an extension, pleading for mercy on behalf of the slower students like himself. But the professor shuts that down immediately. Sunu just decides he'll grind it out in a single day so he can chill for the rest of the week. Just as he was debating who to partner with, Ara suddenly declares that he's going to be on her team. The other guys are fuming, absolutely salty that the two biggest brains in the class are pairing up instead of spreading the genius around. But a single, razor-sharp glare from her shuts them down instantly. She then asks if he's cool with being on her team, remembering that, consent is a thing. He agrees without a moment's hesitation, and she tells him to meet her at the training grounds after class. He's secretly thrilled by this sudden turn of events, since he wanted to team up with Ara all along. But his whole plan shatters the moment she unexpectedly pins him against a wall. She looks right through him, into his very soul, and tells him to start talking, because she already knows who he really is.